Thank you very much. So someone confirm the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council for Tuesday the 24th of June and the minutes of the special council meeting on Tuesday the 1st of July. So moved. Councillor Bruce Priest, did you wish to speak to it? Seconder? Councillor Roberts, do you wish to speak to it? Any further debate? All those in favour? Against? That carries. There's reports on page 1029 and 130. I don't have any updates for it. Does anybody wish to move it to its current form? Councillor Lee, do you wish to speak to it? Councillor Seconder. Councillor Dixon, do you wish to speak to it? All those, any further debate, sorry? All those in favour? Against? It's carried. Verbal reports from council reps on local government or community organisations. Do we have any?
Yes, last night I attended the Port Oval renovations, shall we speak. And it's good to know that it's coming along very, very well. We just about have consensus from every member of the Broadview Oval there. We have consensus just about from everybody. And I think actually everybody is in agreement with the latest plans that have been drawn up. And it should be presented, what we've discussed and finalised, should be brought to council workshop in about August. Is that right, Mark? About August? First or second week in August.
Any further reps on council, on local government bodies or community organisations?
Yes.
Just
to announce that the tenders for the ongoing contract for the burial of our waste out at Inkerman, that's where it continues to be at Inkerman, was let on the 15th of July. The tender closing date, and these are critical dates, so have a big listen, 5th of August. The tender evaluation and final report to the board and member councils, 19th of August. Thus, obviously seeking a decision by individual council members by 14th of September, because we move into caretaker. When this contract was first let, it was set up because with the expectation that this would be well past any election date, but of course the election day changed. So it's happening not at the best time, but it is something we cannot delay as a council. We obviously have to notify whoever's taking on, because that contract begins in January.
Will the expiry date of the current contract?
In December. So it's a tight fit. Now, also at the board meeting, the following motion was moved by myself actually. The board agrees in principle to wind up Waste Care SA, and that's in principle. It will need to come to the councils for the councils to make that final decision. To wind up Waste Care SA and request a report from the Executive Officer to the August board meeting outlining the process and issues associated with winding up the regional subsidiary. That because you actually have to get ministerial approval. You can't just decide to wind it up. No reason why he wouldn't. Identify any ongoing liability and to model options that would secure the future cooperation of constituent councils post the dissolution of Waste Care SA. The reason for the liabilities is the lease is a 21-year lease, and we are looking to opt out of it after 10 years. That doesn't mean to say the landlord decides to let it out of it. We can sign off the lease to whoever wins the tender, but the landlord still has the right, unless we can get him to sign off those rights, to come back to the councils if the tender falls over at some time in the future. I'm not quite sure why we didn't sign it as a 10-year plus 10-year plus 10-year plus 10-year lease and moving around that problem. But as it was signed as a 21 plus 21. So it is potential we could have 11 years of liability through to the end of the 21st year. So who knows? But hopefully most of the tenders, I imagine, would be of such quantum that they're not going to roll over. The only other one is not quite within this category, but last month, middle of last month, Monica and myself were at the wedding of a former councillor, Andrew Christie, and it went extremely well. He didn't ask me to pass on his best wishes because they weren't on his mind, but but it was a fantastic day, freezing cold up in the Adelaide Hills, and it was a great wedding.
Thank you, Councillor. Take it there wasn't a local government organisation, but nonetheless, thank you for letting us know.
Sounded
We did a local government area.
Any further verbal reports about real local government organisations? There being none, we'll move on. Questions with notice or nil. Questions without notice, are there any? Councillor.
Yeah, to the Chair, the CEO, it has now been announced that the carbon tax has finally been repealed. Fantastic news for the people of Australia. Can you confirm what rebate, because the carbon tax has been repealed, what rebate will be given back to the ratepayers of Prospect?
CEO or Director?
Through the Chair, throughout our budget, there's no carbon tax has been built into the budget. So from the 2014 budget, we have made it quite clear that whatever impact on carbon tax, Council will absorb within its operations. So we haven't built in any additional cost in terms of carbon tax.
No additional cost, so no rebate.
No rebate.
Simple. Next question.
Thank you. Yes, to the Chair actually. Most questions were raised about the Christina's nomination for the Joy Belushi Award, but also Councillor Barnett raised a question about the Finance Board. Is it the Local Government Financial Board? Financial Authority. Did you raise questions about that, David, through the LGA?
I'll be raising it at the next local government management group meeting, where it's on the agenda already, and I can't give you an answer on that until that body meets. Thank you. Further questions without notice? Councillor Barnett.
Yes, through the Chair to our planning, acting director, planning. What is the status of our Heritage Development Plan assessment? As I understand, Mr. Rao has been in receipt of it for several months.
This is the statement of intent or what's the status of the process?
Yeah.
Thank you, Director. Acting Director.
Through the Mayor, pending approval of the Minister. That's all I can provide at this time.
Thank you.
Sorry, Acting Director, in terms of the process, does it go through a DPAC review? Simply what we've asked for goes to the Minister's department for them to comment on and make a recommendation straight to the Minister.
I'm not sure at what stage of the process it's currently at and at what stage will trigger the DPAC review, whether that will be pre or post consultation. I can take that question on notice and provide a detailed update to elected members via email.
So just to be clear here, and also clarifying in my own mind, we've asked for a process to go through, and the consultation hasn't started yet. So we're a long way from having this stuff sorted, but Councillor Barnett's asked for the status report, so we might have to get that in writing, I think, just to decide where we're at.
Thank you. Yes, because it's way overdue.
Any further questions about notice? Councillor Roberts.
Through the Chair to the CEO, could you just let us know what further steps we can take against former Councillor Andrew Christie with the allowance monies that have been overpaid?
Director?
Yep, through the Chair. The equipment of debt has been included according to our accounting policy. So, so it will be, a letter has been prepared. So after a certain period of time, we will issue a letter. But Councillor Christie has actually happened to contact us during that period, and it will be repaid shortly.
Thank you. Yeah, look, it is a bit of a clumsy process when people leave. It's not easy. We've had it happen before with councillors of some standing and reputation. It's just not straightforward. So I'm glad to hear that the process is happening. Any other questions without notice? That being none, we'll move on to petitions that are nil. Deputations, we have one. I'm delighted to ask Ms. Rhoda Matto to come forward to talk about the proposed Prospect food trial. Trial?
A trial of the trial.
Please, take your seat.
I will sit down, but it won't make any difference.
Unfortunately, it lies stand under our council meeting rules, but nevertheless, yes. And for the purposes of our minutes, could you please state your name and address?
Rosa Macho, number 10, Ballville Street, Prospect.
Thank you, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Some 8 years or so ago, I approached Prospect Council with an idea for a food and wine trail for Prospect and its environs. I received a perfunctory letter acknowledging the receipt of my letter, but no expression of interest. Last year I tried again and spoke to Justin Common and Jennifer Buchan. This time I can happily report I was received with much interest and support, but regrettably not the small amount of money that I had calculated we need to get a food and wine trail off the ground. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight. As you know, a number of other councils have already got food and wine trails, and I want to highlight one of them, the City of Campbelltown, which I know very well. The City of Campbelltown started with under 10 participants in 2007, and they now have 19 participants, each paying a member's fee of $300. Small food manufacturing businesses are actively moving to Campbelltown because the inclusion in the food trail gives them an added benefit. Ursula Hickey from the City of Campbelltown tells me that they have a waiting list for people wanting to be included on the trail next year. And this trail, she highlights, ties in very well with their Friday night market. Although I was involved with the setup of the City of Campbell's trail, I recognise that a Prospect food and wine trail would be a very different proposition. The most fundamental difference is that in Prospect we don't have so many food manufacturing businesses, but we do have a wonderful variety of food outlets and eating experiences. And we've got clean parks and gardens where we could take fresh, healthy produce for a quick picnic. What we also have is one of Adelaide's most livable inner suburbs, and soon we'll have world-class digital connections and the beginnings of a reputation as a food destination. I see that these two factors will come together in our food trail. The Prospect Farmers Market, of which I'm a patron, the community garden, our Friday night concerts, and generally our creative approach to the arts gives us a basis to challenge and support our food businesses and to try to encourage others to come to the area in a culinary expansion of Prospect's tourism plan. I understand that tourism is a high priority for the city, but we need to remain competitive and creative. The high-speed broadband is a key component to Prospect's marketability, and providing an online component of Food Trail website and perhaps a mobile Food Trail app fits perfectly with Prospect's approach to encouraging innovation and creativity. Obviously, such a trail cannot stand alone, and I've got lots of other constructive ideas that support this trail, which we don't need to go into now. But all of this would support existing businesses, but more importantly, encourage other food businesses to settle here in Prospect. How much would it cost? Yes. I've estimated that to recruit participants, prepare a trail map, and have the material ready for a graphic artist and web page designer could come in at around $5,000, and that includes a small fee for my time. If we went down the path of some other councils and charged businesses a membership fee, then this start-up figure of $5,000 could be recouped within the first year. A modest yearly subscription may also service the cost of a web designer and a yearly update that obviously we would need. So, effectively, I'm asking support from the council on 2 levels. Firstly, a show of moral support for the idea of a Prospect Council having an interactive food and wine trail, and secondly, financial support to the tune of about $5,000 to get it underway. Thank you.
Thank you. If you just sit tight, stand tight.
Stand tight.
Yes. Maybe some questions from elected, that's okay. Councillor Brett.
Yeah, thank you very much for that presentation. That's the first. Do you know when you brought this to council? Because I can't remember ever hearing about this.
I spoke to someone in...
Justin Commons.
Oh, I don't remember him because he...
Oh, you mentioned his name.
Oh, yes, that was last year. Oh, last year I spoke with Jennifer and Justin. And
last year was the only time you brought this to council?
No. In 2007, I also...
I can't remember it coming, Councillor, actually, yeah, it sounds a good idea, but you do know we have the Food and Wine Festival as well.
Oh yes, that would all be tied in, which I think is, that's the whole point the whole point of making this a Food and Wine Trail is to bring people here for all the extra things we do.
Thank you. Councillor Barnett.
Yes, I understand.
Look, should stand. The your rules you asked me to enforce, Councillor. So
That's right, but I believe the applicant can sit. We've had them sit before.
we have, and I think that's.
Oh, all right. So here we are, Rosa. We're standing. All right, but that's fine. We're standing because we love the idea of a profit food trail and something of it. So I have to ask a question. So you say, Rosa, do you see this, so how did Campbelltown first get off the ground?
Well, very much under Ursula, he was pushing it, and also now they actually take people on the bus, on the trail to these food businesses, which is why it's so valuable for them, to be honest. I think most councils will have a look at all the aspects of their city that are worthwhile promoting. Campbelltown has a lot of food manufacturing businesses, but we've got a lot of the industry.
Any further questions? Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Rose, for coming. It's really interesting to hear what you have to say. I've just got two questions. One is, in terms of your experience doing this in other places, how much interest comes from within the local community as opposed to people from outside it? That's probably question one. The second question is, have you spoken to any businesses around Prospect to sort of gauge their support in any way? And what's that support been?
Well, firstly, Campbelltown has statistics of who does the trail, but what is very useful is that all shops have got the trail in their shops. So local people will obviously pick that up and say, right, if I want biscuits, I'll go here, there, and the other place. What was the second question?
It's just in terms of your conversation with businesses.
Yes, I have spoken very briefly to our wine bar.
Yeah.
And I have spoken also, thank you, also to our restaurant that served desserts, which unhappily has gone. And they were very, very pleased because one of my suggestions was that we should have a progressive dinner, for instance, that would start in the wine bar, go to Vietnam, the Vietnamese place for entree, change the main course, finish off at the bar. I was going to sort of start doing that off my own bat, and that's when I spoke to them and they said progressively they have to move on. So that's a bit of a sadness, and that's why we should act quickly before we lose any other interesting and modern, up-to-date places.
Thank you very much for bringing it.
Did you try that one?
Further questions?
There's lots of them.
How many food entities are involved in Campbelltown?
Oh, you can.
Councillor Nixon, you need to stand.
I've asked a question.
Well, look, I don't know how many in all. There are many, many that don't want to pay the $300, which I think is a bit steep for a small business. And, you know, that's really irrelevant to this discussion. But there are 19 people on the actual trail. And you can't do the trail in a day. In fact, when I take people, I actually find out what their interests are. So, for instance, if they like desserts and that sort of thing, the whole day could be spent just going to biscuit and cake manufacturers, etc. Coffee places, coffee roasters, not just drinking coffee, but actually seeing the whole process. Other people might be very interested in breads and baking, so then I'll devise a different plan. And really, we get to go to maybe 6 or 7 businesses in each tour that I might take.
Thank you. Any further questions from local members? That being the case, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your
You're
time.
more than welcome to stay for the entire meeting if you wish. Or we can have a quick chat with Chris on the way out just to make sure we've got the topic covered, and it's more than welcome to come and chat to us any time. Thank you very much.
Very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Motions on those, item 11 we have nil. Declaration by members of a conflict of interest, do we have any?
Yes, I have a conflict on 20.6.
Is that that one?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
6. An interest or a conflict of interest?
Conflict of interest. I did say conflict of interest.
You did too. Any further detail?
Because it's about me.
Look it out. Okay, thank you. Under the protocol, I'll pull out the items that we need to, or you request to, otherwise we'll vote for them on block, and I pull out item 15.1 and 15.2 for the information report and the progress report as I normally do. 19.1, does anybody wish to pull out that, the response to the motion to disallow the variation regulations under the Development Act? Sure. Wish to pull it out? Yes. 10.1, caretaker policies, anybody wish to withdraw that?
Could I just say 20, which is the Council Report Core Strategy 5. The page I'm interested in is 1080, so I'm not sure which bit needs to be pulled out.
1080, huh?
Yeah.
That is under...
That's under 90.1.
The information report. That's under the information report, I think.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Oh, that's already out.
Yeah, pull it out in the next one. So you should be okay, Councillor.
Right, okay.
Caretaker policy, no one wishes to draw that one? Good. Perfect. 20.2, review of the code of conduct of council members. Anybody wish to withdraw that one? No. The investment report, item 20.3, does anybody wish to pull it out? Councillor Priest. 20.4, the update on council's borrowing and related financial arrangements 2013-14. Anybody wish to pull it out? Councillor Priest does. And 20.5 needs to be pulled out because we have to nominate some councillors in there. And 20.6, does anybody wish to pull that out? The breach of code of conduct for council members regarding Councillor Bruce Priest. Councillor Dixon. All right, then we have one. Has someone move item 20.2?
Well, if
Councillor Brooks, and seconded by Councillor Harris. There being no debate on those. All those in favour? Against? It is carried.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay, that takes us to item 15.1, information report. I've pulled it out to see if there are any questions, and in the process just referring you to some, the report's fantastic. If anyone wants to know what's happening on council or they have a question about what we do, you can do worse than show them the information report. So for those of you who are in the gallery, it's a pretty good report for you to have a look at if you want to know what services we provide, and I commend it to you. Page 1037, there's a small table there noting the interest in our YouTube video access to council meetings. Noticing that our first one was very popular, and the June one still had 40 hits on it. Page 1044, there's a letter of thanks from Prospects Primary regarding the budget consultation that the staff took to the school. That's the first time they've ever done that, and they really appreciate that, so it's great to get some feedback on that. And 1052, there's some really great feedback about how the digital hub has been helping people work through their association with or fears of using new technology. So that's great feedback. And 1062, just to note, the development applications are on the rise this year, and we would like to think that's as a result of our development plan changes that we wanted deliberately to see a rise in activity. So that's very good, and we might ask at some stage for a presentation to a workshop about the impact that our changes have had. It's probably a little early, but at some stage it would be good. Are there any further questions on information report? Councillor Harris.
Yeah, it's page 1034. And my only couple of brief questions is, this is the activity, and the first one's the parking offence declaration notice issued. I see for the quarter of 2014 there's 407, and the quarter for 2013 is 2,063. I wondered how do we now just run cars?
Year to date is what should be. You reckon that? Director, can you confirm that that's...
Well, my question goes, I'll just say the other one as well, because it's exactly the same, which is a vehicle, which is the next, not the next one, the one after. Vehicles reported for 48 hours in the street. We had 51 this quarter and 212 last quarter, so both those questions are similar.
Director, can you give us some guidance on that? The column heading is slightly incorrect.
Through the Mayor, I'll need to take that question on notice and provide the members with some further information.
Yeah, so I just read that and assumed that the third column was the year-to-date 2013, the same period. That's what it has been before.
Once again, yeah, I'll need to take that on notice and provide some information.
Thank you. Councillor Harrison, anything further?
Not till I get down to 19.
You had a question about page 1080?
Yes, but that comes down in the 21.
No, it's in
No, it's in this report.
Hey. Right, 1076. Okay, it's about the register. I just actually pulled that one because when it came to the vote I was going to vote against it, simply because I had some questions, and particularly about the lovely people I'm sitting with, because I went as someone partner to the Calypso thing. I didn't go as myself, and I don't see why that's not. So I'm only going to vote against it, and then later on I'll have time to be able to ask questions, not here in this meeting.
So, Councillor, you raised a good question. We get offered 2 tickets for some of these things and invited, that particular instance, by the Premier, and I was unable to attend.
So Mark got them.
So Deputy Mayor went and you went as well.
But instead of his wife.
As you say. And a great replacement.
Not now. That's the only way to record. That's
Through the Chair, it's not when you get invited so much, I believe it's whether you attend, so the perception that you were there and accepted that hospitality. I think you would have been perceived to be an elected member in your role there, not...
And his partner.
Yeah.
Well, we weren't there long and he gave me the flick anyway, so... Well, okay, while I'm standing the same, the similar one was the 10 tickets to the Fringe show. Well, I didn't use them, but it says all of us. All elected members, the third one.
1080.
yeah.
$240 worth. And the football won the grand final while I was in Singapore. I wanted to ask a question, but I'd ask that afterwards. You know, that was...
Okay. So the Fringe show was certainly offered tickets. I'm not aware of actually who went to the Fringe show. It should record who went rather than... Is that the case? They were taken up?
Those six come up.
They were taken up. I did give out some, but I'm tested in my memory. But on the register, it was put in there when they were received. So perhaps that could be followed up with who went.
Okay.
Come out. It was the one that's in the town hall.
Yes, that's right.
The cash. Oh, the cash. It was a dollar sign.
Yeah, the
After cash.
something.
I remember it.
After cash. Yeah, it's the pastor thing.
Three comedies. Okay, so you've recorded that we've received the tickets, but you're not sure who's gone, and so you clarify whether we should record who's actually benefited from the ticket rather than just received the ticket. At this stage, you're interpreting it as us receiving a ticket, it goes on the register. Yeah, fine.
Okay, then I did go to the Port Hawthorn game. I was going to raise that, but I didn't go with you, so it wasn't 350. But
So which line item is that one?
oh, that's all right. I was just having I sat in the wind-blown area on the ground. But that's all. Thank you.
So I've seen something in values. It's interesting. Are they provided to us, or is that your best guess on those values, Manager?
Through the chair, without going back over it, I can't answer that at the moment. I don't think I entered that one, so I'd have to go back and talk to you.
Vicky, Councillor, anything further?
No, thank you.
Just questions at this stage, Councillor Good.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. Page 1036.
Oh, easy.
The social media stat. Just a question to the appropriate director. Terrific prospect. Facebook got -2 likes. I just want to check whether that's a statistical anomaly or whether it's an error. Or both.
That could have been me trying to get on.
Director? How did anyone not like us?
There's only 2, really worried about it.
The way Facebook works, from my discussion with young people, suggests that you can actually unlike something. So it could have been that during the event we achieved, say, 753 likes, but subsequently, when somebody's re-checked into Facebook, they've unliked the event. That'll be an explanation.
My understanding is that several people do a call through all of their friends and routinely clean everything out and then reinstate family or close friends. Or they do a huge cull, and that would be something that I think would be easy for people to cull and choose again next year. Or not. It's only the explanation I can provide you why someone doesn't like it.
It's good to see you about talking to young people. Very impressive. The second question I had was on page 1046. In relation to the Darling Railway Station, I was just interested in the bench installation. I'm not sure I can get into the Acting Director of Planning and Development through the Chair. There were some mosaic benches that these seem to have replaced. I'm just wondering what happened to the mosaic benches, because I know for a number of people they had some significance, and I know they were fairly keen to get them upgraded. They seem to be, as I read here, they seem to be replaced with 2 slabs of concrete, which in themselves are nice. But I'm just curious about the mosaic benches, what happened to those, and whether there's any intent to upgrade those or to restore them.
Director, Acting Directors, anybody?
I know the answer. If they're interested.
Someone dropped them, they shattered.
See us.
The Acting Director is on sick leave today, so that's the only answer. So I'll just have to take that on notice and community.
Through the chair, Councillor Barnett knows what happened.
Good on Councillor Barnett. Let's get you
Speak to you later.
Let's get the memo from the CEO. Any further questions, Councillor? Any further questions about the report? Okay, if that's the case, so seek someone to move the report as presented to us. Councillor Cruz, would you speak any further? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Barnett, would you speak any further?
Just to say, I thought it was very well laid out and very informative.
Yeah, it's a great report. Yeah. Any further debate? If not, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, over the page. So the next report is the status report on the capital projects and operating projects. I've pulled it out again to allow brief questions. Are there any brief questions about any of the projects in this statement? If not, someone wish to move it, present it. Councillor Dixon, wish to speak to it? Got a seconder? Councillor Briggs, wish to speak to it? Any further debate? All those in favour? Against is carried. Next item is 19.1, the response to the motion to disallow variation regulations under the Development Act, and it was drawn by Councillor Dixon. Just a brief reason why it drew it, Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, my understanding from the workshop is that that it wasn't as presented here, that we sought to agree with Mr. Parnell Therefore, I shall be voting against.
Thank you. Its current form. On the floor, Councillor Priest, could you speak to it?
Just to say that I was quite impressed by Mark Parnell's involvement and coming to our council and giving his time to actually speak on this. And and I said in the meeting that I don't think we've seen a Labor Party or a Liberal Party member in Parliament come and speak out against this and actually bring it to our attention, this terrible motion that the Labor Party had brought upon the people of South Australia. So I quite thank the Greens Party member Mark Parnell and look forward to voting for him at the next election.
Extraordinary. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Roberts, could you speak to it?
No.
Councillor Harris. Sorry, hang on. Councillor Dixon, you have first dibs because you withdrew.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I just think there are enormous advantages with going with the position as it stands in terms of our ability to A, have expertise on multi-storey, which we don't have on council, and it's going to cost us a lot of money to get it, either by hiring somebody or spending a lot of money each year on consultants. And there are plenty of complaints about the amount of money we spend on consultants. I don't think we need to add to it.
Apologise.
Okay, so
I didn't mean to apologise to you.
Just reassuring each other that what you were saying was worth listening to.
Certainly, that's right. The consultant side, and or a staff member, we're going to have to go down one track or another. We do not have the expertise. Chris made that quite clear, the acting director, that we don't have that expertise on council in multi-storey. Not only that do we get this, we get it free of charge, no cost to the ratepayer, plus constant design review, mandatory design review. And that has worked so well for us. Those on DAP know how well that's already worked for us in getting really good advice, again, free of charge. Councils have this thing about thinking they're letting go. When the DAP came in, we let go. There are 4 independents and 3 councillors. Now, it hasn't worked that way. Generally, we've all been in agreement. It's pretty rare that we don't. But having that expertise has been so valuable to this council. We're not professionals in this area. Our job is to write the development plan, not to read the Bible and then decide to authenticate it. If we should have the courage and the knowledge to be able to good development plan and hand it across to experts, and they must make their decisions depending on that plan. They just can't go off left or right field. They have to show it meets the development plan, or they'll get stung by the court, who will say it doesn't meet the development plan. There is huge advantage for us in terms of cost and expertise to take one more step than that and hand it across to a body that just has the expertise we don't have, free of charge, fantastic design and architecture review, free of cost, and it makes very little change to what we've got now, because effectively the DAP we are only a minor player of, we are not the major player. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Councillor Harris, do you want to speak to this item? I saw your hand before, and then I saw Councillor Cruz, so I'm just...
I'd like to hold on for a moment because there may be an amendment, and I won't be in that position to second it if I speak.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Green, you to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to make an amendment to the recommendations, if I can. And so, before I do that, just to acknowledge Councillor Dixon's concerns. I don't disagree with some of what he's spoken about. And when we had Mark Parnell here, we talked a lot about council's capacity to influence and change and making sure we get good design. And I think whatever we do tonight, I think we've all got the same agenda to make sure we get good design in what we do. That's why I do support the disallowance motion. Recommendation 1 talks about it's desirable that a legislative referral to the government architect remain. And my amendment, I have 2 amendments. One is that we change that recommendation from desirable to mandatory. I don't think desirable goes far enough. And my view is, my support of the disallowance motion is on the basis that it would be mandatory. If it's not, then
So hang on, just be careful here. The report was saying, noting that we believe it's desirable that a legislative referral remains. What you're saying is the referral should be mandatory. Correct. Okay, so it might be better to say, knowing that just leave the desirable word is for a second, that a mandated legislative, we would mandate.
Well, government architect is mandatory. A referral to the government architect is mandatory.
It's mandatory, yeah, thank you.
I just think that's the critical part of this. I think the intent of Mark Parnell's motion is good and it suits what I think is appropriate, but we need to make sure we keep that element of design review in the process. So that's Amendment 1. Amendment 2.
So can I just ask the mover and seconder before you go into the next bit whether they're happy to incorporate that change? I ask because I think probably are.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with that change.
Happy with that. Seconded. Yes. And with that, we'll see to the need to incorporate. All those in favour of that change being incorporated?
Councillors?
Councillor?
Thank you. That's approved. The change is thus incorporated, not an amendment. It's now part of the motion.
Thank you, and I'd like to make a second amendment to number 6, recommendation 6. It suggests in further...
Hang on, we get it up. Yeah.
Sorry, look, quite simple.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kerry, I actually meant number 2, copies of the response. Just a...
Item 2?
Item 2.
No, Dan.
Well, recommendation 2, actually. Sorry, I was confused by its recommendation 1. Recommendation 2 down the bottom, yeah. So just to add in, I think it would be appropriate to also provide a copy of the response to the Greens and also to Family First. And any relevant independents?
Yeah, they got the Next Generation Party.
And so other
To all
other independents.
And independents. Independent members. Independent members.
Independent members, yeah.
I think it's appropriate that we're providing it to the major parties. We should also provide it to the other parties.
Okay, thank you. I'd seek leave the mover to incorporate.
I'm quite happy to incorporate that. I just think it's very good amendments.
To incorporate. Simple yes. Perfect. Thank you. Please leave the meeting to incorporate that change. All those in favour? Against? That is thus incorporated. Thinking becomes part of the motion. Anything further, Councillor Group?
No, that's all. And we'll be supporting the motion and on paper. I think it's just to echo Councillor Priest's words. I think it's fantastic that Mark came out to speak. As I said on the night, he was the first member of Parliament beyond a minister who's come and actually spoken to us about an issue. So it's fantastic. Or in my time, anyway, should add. So I think it's fantastic he did that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Any further debate on the side? Councillor Lee.
It's great that you put in mandatory in there, but I still can't support this motion. To me, the biggest issue is about development, is about design. I'm on record to say that I'd much rather see an 8-storey, really well designed building than the crap 2 to 3 stories that we've been getting over the last couple of years. We made a really big issue under the process of leading up to the new development plan. And the government essentially gave us a free kit. I mean, it came with strings attached, and that is the DAC reviewing anything over 4 stories. But we're back to that thing about we insisting on getting everything our own way. And I think with this motion we're playing Russian roulette. We run the risk of losing everything, and the everything that's most important to me is the government architect. So I can't support this motion regardless of whether we put in there that it's mandatory that the referrals go to the government architect. I think there's just too much at risk to supporting this, and I'll be very happy.
Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Barnett.
Yes, I support motion, and I think I'm just wondering how much longer the free kick is going to be around when all the inner city rooms are going to be demanding that the chief architect's office be used. So I think we need to get in up front, like we did when the inner room planning was, and be on front foot.
Okay, thank you. Any further debate? Thank you, Councillor Priest. If you to sum up.
Yeah, I do. Look, thank you to Councillor Margaret for adding those valuable things to this motion. Look, I'm gravely concerned about, and obviously there are a lot of residents in Prospect and ratepayers who are gravely concerned about high-rise that's going to happen, and as we see something that's going to happen on Prospect Road, which I'm very, very concerned about, issues that are going to be surrounding this building on Prospect Road. We're going to have a number of problems with infill, high-rise and infill, cars parked throughout with a lot of little streets. We're going to...
sorry, you're raising a point of order, Councillor Lee?
I didn't hear that.
Point of order.
I just heard that.
What relevance has this got to the motion? New issues and campaign.
Section of DA?
Thank you.
Which section did that?
365.
I will hold to the extent that Councillor Priest, we are debating a disallowance motion, not high-rise, the height of buildings, the development plan changes.
Streets clogged up with cars,
We're not debating any of that.
parking issues.
And you didn't talk about this in your initial speech, so you can't introduce new information.
Thank you very much.
Please focus on the debate at hand.
I think I've spoken enough. I learned that from Councillor Dixon.
And he learned well.
There's your conclusion. The section, thankfully, because it's probably got it wrong. That concludes the debate. All those in favour of the motion, all those against, it is carried.
I call for a division.
Certainly can.
Can I put one too?
No.
Those still in the negative, please stand and have your names recorded. Round.
Are you my teach children?
Thank you. Still carried. Next item, 20.1, the newspaper policy. Withdrawn by Councillor Scrooge. Just a brief reason why you withdrew it, Councillor.
Just want to make a comment about an element of the policy.
Sorry.
An element of the policy.
Thank you. Just to move it.
Yeah, I will move it, and I'm going to support the motion tonight. So, look, I just want to comment on something that we talked about at the workshop, and that is around the social media component of this policy, because I don't think we've nailed it, and I think partly we haven't nailed it because no one else has nailed it, particularly the Electoral Commissioner. And I'm a bit concerned that, we've been, since we went to an election 4 years ago, we've had a federal election and a state election. And neither of those have prompted the electoral commission enough to deal with the social media issue. And I'm really concerned about that. In the paper, 4.7 states that the electoral commission is now looking at updating their documentation to include comment on social media. That's not expected before August 2014. So I have a question, possibly from the government, just how that would apply to us if the electoral commissioner does come out with something around social media. Will that apply to this coming election, or will we need to make some changes to our caretaker policy before?
Can you imagine?
Through the Chair, I think that would be dictated by the Electoral Commission. They'll tell us what we need to do, and then if we need to change our caretaker policy, we can change it any time, bring it back to Council.
Just as supplementary questions to that, can we make a change to the caretaker policy while we're in caretaker?
Not a major change, no.
Sorry, would this be considered a major change or a minor change?
Through the Chair, depending what the Electoral Commission comes out with, I don't know. I can't speak against that.
I won't ask you anymore.
Look,
I know I harp on a little bit about this, but I just think it is an issue for us. It's an issue for any election process. And I'm really disappointed on the record that it hasn't been dealt with by the Electoral Commissioner. I can only presume the LGA hasn't dealt with it either because it hasn't come out. There's a quote in here that there's been some research done on the era councils about what they're doing in terms of social media. And it's just disappointing that it's not being picked up. That said, I think it's a really good policy. Whether it's using a sledgehammer to crack a walnut, I'm not sure yet. It seems to be a lot of work for what is a very little issue. We talked about that at the workshop. But anyway, it is what it is, and we have to have it, and we've got it, and I'm supportive of it.
Thank you. Do you have a second? Councillor Barnett, you could speak to it?
Yes, just briefly echoing Councillor Group's comment, and I think yes, it will be very interesting whether Twitterers are going to have to, it was 100 and X number of characters, put all their then authorised by la 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 la, and whatever, and then at the end of it you most probably just have some 2 spaces left. So yes, it should be interesting, but what can we do? We can only wait and see what the Electoral Commissioner, who's independent from our processes and the LGA, so we just can do naught but wait.
Thank you. Any further debate? That concludes debate. Did you wish to sum up each other, Councillor Group?
No.
All those in favour? Against, it is carried. The review of the code of conduct for council members was passed. The investment report, Councillor Priest, the brief reason why you put it out.
Yeah, to the question to the Director of Corporate Services, I don't know whether this relates to...
You've withdrawn that question.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
You've moved it in its current form?
I'm quite happy to move it in its current form, yeah.
Speaking to it, your first thing is a question?
Yeah, well, question for 20.4 and 20.5. No, not that one. Actually, it was 20.4 and it's missing it. So, I noticed that the brief question is, why wasn't the North Adelaide Footies Club's borrowings included in this as far as an investment or a borrowing?
Thank you, Councillor. Director.
Through the Chair, these two reports you refer to 20.3 and 20.4, so it's looking at how well council actually performed in its investment and what was council's debt in 20.4. So not the amount not alleged for Club's debt will be included in 20.4 as part of total council's debt. In terms of 20.3, that is the cash. That is talking about how council best invest our surplus cash.
Thank you. Councillor Priest, back to you to talk to your motion.
No, I think that's been said.
We'll see if tonight we've run out a second. Do I have one? On the very inspiring speech, Councillor Priest, but Councillor Dixon, thinking about it?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, wish to speak to it, Councillor Dixon.
Actually, on the subject of Section 140 report, I don't think we're required actually under the Act, if I remember my last reading. It's only about investment. It's nothing to do with borrowing.
Believe that's what the Director said.
No, I thought you meant borrowings, but not in terms of the detail of the borrowing.
That's right. So Section 139 talks about the investment policy, and Section 134 talks about council's borrowing, and we're required by the Act to report annually on how well we do and what's our borrowing.
Yes, yeah. All right, sorry. I thought you were saying 140. Misheard. Look, I think it's a great report. I did, some of you, I think you've all got an email. I did feel my reading of the Act does require a bit more information. When I first came to council in 2000, I was reading through the Act in, you get elected in May. I think I got to that part of the Act in about July or August, and it said, Section 140, that the council must report to, staff must report to elected members on the investments the council has. And I thought, I don't remember them in the budget, so I went through the budget papers, went through the years before, nothing. So I asked, I think, the question on notice, and it turned out, for some reason, the council hadn't been doing it for quite some time. So I asked what the policy was, and it came back the next month as a question on notice that our only policy at all, and had been for years, of City of Prospect, shamefully, was 24-hour call. That was how we invested our money. Justin worked out at the time it was costing us about $100,000 a year because we weren't doing what we now do. And that is looking at when we need the money, not all on 24-hour call, and putting it away on 30, 60 and 90 day, and then just making sure it was all ready. Justin set that up, and Ginny and Chris, it's just working perfectly. They've got it all in $250,000 lumps that comes ready when it's due, so you're getting the maximum interest rate. Right now the interest rate's crap, so we're not getting too much anyway. But the reason I just really feel elected members should see that every year, so they know there is a program in place of putting this money out in a balanced program, and not as it was, all on 24-hour call. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm happy to second. And
very well. Any further debate? Councillor Barnett.
Yes, I think as we're demonstrating with all our policies, financial policies and procedures and reports, and certainly being a member of the Council's Audit Committee, I think that we're really starting to nail these things. And I think that that's a very good place to be, and I think that yes, we should be viewing these investment reports, and particularly I think in line with that quarterly financial reporting as well. So I think now we've got, well, I think lots of councils have had to, with the review back in, was it 2006, I think, there was a huge big financial overhaul of local government. So I think we're in quite a very good place reporting and knowing what we have.
Thank you. Any further debate? Concludes the debate. Councillor Bruce, wish to sum up.
I think enough's been said.
All those in favour? Against, it's carried. Item 20.4, update on council's borrowing and related financial arrangements, 13 to 14. Councillor Bruce, a brief reason why you called out.
Again, to ask the same question of the Director of Corporate Services is why, because it is a borrowing.
Brief reason is, question.
Last question.
You wish to
I wish I'll move in this council, yes.
you wish to speak to it or ask the question?
Ask the question, yes, again, the same question, why wasn't there not only free club borrowings in there, but I think you've summed it up quite well in the previous question and answer.
Seconded.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Dixon. Do you wish to speak to it? Any further debate? Just wait for it. No further debate. All those in favour? Against, it's carried. Okay, Local Government Association Annual General Meeting and Local Government Finance Authority Annual General Meeting. Presentations there. Need to assign the voting delegate. And in this case, as per the last meeting, I expect to be, God willing and other things, in the chair. So I can't also be the voting delegate. So we need to have a delegate for each of those meetings and a proxy for the LGH AGM. There is no proxy for the LGFA meeting. And also if we have a nomination for a position on the board. I'm not aware of the nomination coming forward. CEO, aware of one? Of course requires a proper nomination according to the field out. It's a pretty serious role. So I might just ask to suspend meeting procedures so that we can have a bit of a debate around this. Because we're going to get a bit caught up. So seek leave of the meeting to suspend meeting procedures until 8:30. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Does anybody wish to be Deputy Mayor? Is the obvious one. That's what we've done previously. Anyone's got a better idea than...
I'm just puzzled why this is happening when we're about to go into an election. You should sit on the table till after the election. It's pointless.
Because the meetings before the election is the reason.
Yes. Then that's their stupidity. Tell them to sort themselves out and not have it. It's just crazy to go through this process, which almost certainly, or we may have to go through in November, December.
It's just one meeting.
Yeah. So hang on, can I just say these things? Item 1 is the voting delegate at the AGM, which is in October, before the meeting, before the election. You'll be pleased to know that I have asked the LGA to review the election cycle of the board and the meetings election cycle. And it was to come to the last, it did come to the last board meeting, but we declared the report inadequate, set it back to melting pot. So we don't have a change at this point, so the AGM is scheduled for October, and we need a voting delegate. That's pretty straightforward. We're asked to provide a proxy as well, in case the delegate can't be there on the day.
I'll nominate Deputy Mayor, if that's okay.
Okay with me? Okay with me as well. Deputy Mayor. Okay. All right. Anyone else?
Some nominate Scott Roberts to be his underling.
I'll decline. I'll be away that day. Feel a trip coming on. Do we have another nomination?
Yes, from the Audit Committee,
Senator Barnett.
Councillor Barnett.
Councillor Bay, happy to be nominated as proxy?
No, I thought you were going to nominate me actually, but I would have fallen over.
I know you would have said no. So.
Over.
Okay, thank you. No other nominations for proxy. Now, the voting delegate for local government finance authority meeting, this is a very quick meeting. It's usually a great meeting because they declare how much money they have made using our cash on and the interest we pay, and there's usually a bonus there. It merely is to accept that annual report from the LGFA. It's usually the same person as the voting delegate for the AGM.
I'll nominate both of them to be...
I presume you're talking about Deputy Mayor. Thank you. And item 4 is a nomination for the position of the LGFA board. I have to say, I don't see a nomination form here compelling me to vote for anybody, so I'm thinking that there are no nominations for that position. Okay. Right. I might pull us back into...
that's the dumb one.
Yeah.
That is just so dumb.
Yeah, and I've asked that question again. The LGFA board, the LGFA is a different entity to the LGA. So the LGA can try and change its cycle and everything, but we would merely ask the LGFA board to change theirs. They would have to go through a whole constitutional change process to do it as sensible as we think it is, and that it should have been done 4 years ago. We'll have to request it and urge them to change it. Then they'll have board members that they'll need to terminate or extend to fit a new date, so it's a bit of a process, and that position does attract a stipend. It's a pretty serious role, so that won't be straightforward, just letting you know. But I'm not going to argue with you about the timing being suboptimal, shall we say. We'll back in the formal session. Can I have someone move item 1, Councillor Group, item 2, Councillor Bay, item 3, Councillor Group. Moved by Councillor Harris, would you speak to it?
No, I'm very happy with what I heard.
Other than that, Councillor Roberts, having seconded it, wish to speak to it.
That's being said.
Any further debate? All those in favour? Against? It is carried. Okay, 20.6, breach of the code of conduct for council members, Councillor Bruce Priest on page 1171. Has been withdrawn by Councillor Dixon. Just a brief reason why withdrawn it.
Hang on, I just can't get the right page. It's not coming to me. But, to ask a question.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Before I ask for mover and seconder, it is customary for us to go into suspension of meeting procedures to allow some flexibility around the debate here. I will ask you again to suspend meeting procedures. I will, just picking a time, I suggest 9 o'clock to allow free-flowing debate. We'll come back to the formal motion at a time we're comfortable to do so. So all those in favour of suspending meeting procedures until 9 o'clock, those against, they are suspended. Thank you. Okay, so the last time we discussed this at the June meeting, councillors had a say about how they thought about it, but asked specifically to see the report from the investigator, and noting that under the new code it requires that these things be made public, but under the governance panel framework that actually hadn't translated into their rules yet, and it's not tied up, but nevertheless the investigator has enabled it to be made public, and I think the names of the witnesses have been redacted, and that is all, so you have it there in front of you. Those who wanted to see that report, do you have anything you wish to say about it, or I'll just ask you to think through that, because that was a specific request, I think, of Martin and Scott. But actually you had a question, so I should go to that first.
Not to make a comment for you. When I pulled this out, it was bitterly disappointing considering the nature of this topic, the complete and utter recidivist-based nature of Councillor Priest's bullying, particularly women, that he chuckled when I pulled it out. I just find that so incredibly disappointing. He finds it funny. I don't find it funny. I'm not sure anybody else in this room finds it funny. And I'm not sure how Councillor Priest looks at this, because he just will not stop. No matter what we do, no matter how many behavioural strikes against him, he continues to do it, and it appears women are his favourite target. And to then chuckle when I pull it out, I just find it quite extraordinary. My question is there any reason why within this that there is no requirement to publish an apology in the newspapers?
Well, we've done it before, I've always done it before. Manager, Kerry, is there a reason why that's not one of the options before us?
We're not seeking that. The recommendations is pretty much as was received from the government panel, I believe, or what is available under the Code of Conduct. Yes. So if members wanted to add or delete anything, of course.
So does anything preclude us from publishing the findings and the penalty or whatever we've done before, basically, in the local paper?
I would say no, but I think it's something that I'd like to take advice on.
Okay, all right. The other question that flows from that is previously we have asked Councillor Priest to stand down for a period of time. I think it was 2 months. Is that from memory? Is that right? And that's not before us, but I understand that is part of the remedies under the code.
You can't exclude an elected member from attending meetings because that is his role as an elected member. So we can't do that. In I think the last instance that I think you're referring to, Councillor Priest chose to take leave.
That's right. Yeah.
And Councillor Priest chose to take leave.
There's nothing stopping us from doing the same thing again.
No, I guess elected members can invite people to do anything. I don't know. I again would have to take advice on whether to hold someone to that.
Yep.
Or what the consequences would be.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Mark, Scott, could you have any comments to make in reference to the now seeing the whole report?
No, the report was quite well laid out, so I've seen that, so I was fine with that, thank you.
Look, yeah, thank you for arranging a copy of the report. I think it's useful because it does provide the whole context to both the complaint that was made, but also the interview that took place. It doesn't change my view that I expressed here a month ago, which is one of disappointment. I am, and that's not that I really to necessarily ask Councillor Priest a lot of questions about this, but I'm more concerned about some of the statements in that report, such as the issue about code of conduct and freedom of speech. That still remains to me a bit of a mystery that Councillor Priest thought that. The other issue for me was the fact, so I'm just trying to find it, he stated, I'm just reading from the report, he stated in his evidence that he does understand why Ms Nielsen felt threatened and confronted by his approach, but he believed it was because he was passionate and therefore felt she was wrong in her complaint. So that suggests to me that Councillor Priest understood the impact of that conversation with Ms Nielsen, and so that was probably something that hadn't really been brought to my attention before. Yeah, but I think they're useful things from the report. The other question I've got, which isn't in the report, which I thought might be, and that's asking Ms Nielsen what her thoughts of any remedy might be. And I don't think we've done that. And I think back to other times we've been discussing the right things. The question that we've asked in the past is, well, what is it that the complainant would like done? That's sort of making a complaint in the report being found. Now, we can't do it tonight, we can't ask her tonight, but that's something that might have been useful in terms of the interview process to understand from her what she thinks would be appropriate. How does she feel like she can move on with this? What outcome does she need to move on with as well? Now, that's just a comment on anything else, but it's just something that in hindsight could have been asked and would be useful to know. I'll just restrict my comments to the report for now. I have more to say later, but that's
yeah, I wonder whether that would be a fair imposition on a person who's been subjected to one incident, whereas we're aware of many. So it might be that what Ms Nielsen came up with, we might think, oh, well, that's probably inadequate. So
possibly, but it's just useful to know from.
I understand your question. Yeah. Okay. Any further? Well, so that was just flushing out any comments about the report. Does anybody else have questions about the report now that you've got it before you?
Can I, just a procedural thing I'd like to check. The recommendations made, I just answered my question now, the recommendations made were not bound by this recommendation at all. That's correct.
That's right, Manager.
It's very clear. Yep. So we can choose to take some or none.
Just remind councillors that the investigator was unable to take into account any previous breaches in this councillor's terms or terminal terms. Unable under the new code. So what you see is the result of hearing about one incident. I think that weighs heavily on my mind. Any other questions about the report?
Can I just make a comment of what you said? And it's hard because in your mind you've got other incidents, but it's, to me it's like the way we're doing it here, similar to people going to a court or something, and you only take that one incident. I know it's a rotten part of the system that maybe, and I'm definitely not saying this about Bruce, you have child molesters and people like that, but when they actually get to a court, I'm not saying about you, Bruce, when you get to a court situation, those sort of things can't come up, you only come up with that case. So, you know, we're supposed to be looking at one situation, I believe, which was a bit different.
That's actually not the case.
Yeah.
The judge looks at everything. The jury only looks at that one. So the jury can't decide on the probability. They have to decide, are you guilty of this one thing? The judge in sentencing looks at everything.
Sentencing, yeah.
And that's why you see in newspapers often 23 this and 48 that.
We divorce ourselves from the common law. Okay. We're just looking at the code. The code was deliberately changed to allow previous offences to be considered at subsequent investigations.
That's the future code.
Right. Oh, no, not future code. Current code.
Current code, but after this, or?
Yeah. So the current code, which is a new one, says, yes, if someone's a repeat offender, we want to know about it, and we want the investigator to be able to understand that, and when they recommend a penalty, that bear in mind there have been previous occurrences. Okay? What we're caught with here is that the new code just come into operation in September. That's the only reason that the current investigation couldn't look back. It's the only reason. Not a philosophical, ideological, legislative reason other than it's a new code.
Okay.
Can I just say, I have received advice, it's not, I have to say, not legal advice, that councillor, you sitting in on this discussion is a breach of your conflict of interest. And you need to consider that, and clearly you considered at the last meeting that you declared a conflict, but that you stayed for the entire debate when you get to a decision point. You're choosing to do it again by the look of it. And I just want to say I'm not very comfortable with that. Not very comfortable.
But it's open on speaker and it's open. But
I'm saying I'm not comfortable with you sitting in on this debate having declared a conflict of interest where it's specifically about you. It's not. You make your own decision.
It's open to the public and therefore I can hear it any time.
You can hear it afterwards because we record it. I'm just letting you know, councillor, that you may be in breach by sitting in on this item. You need to take your own counsel on that.
Well, if you think that, and I'll beg the question of the CEO, is that correct? Because I'm led to believe other. The legal advice I've received, I'm led to believe the other. So,
at the end of the day, councillor, it is entirely your discretion to
what is your opinion? Legal advice, I've received legal advice.
I believe it is an issue of council.
Yeah, okay, well, I will depart the meeting.
Any council? Now, I just wanted to make sure that there were no other questions about the report, because that was why we didn't make a decision at the last juncture. Anyone else got any questions at all? Method, time, anything else?
Question, comment?
We'll take comments, yep. Yeah.
I find it deeply unsatisfactory, the recommendations here, and I know that you're doing what's within your parameters. But it's the same old, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, constant, repeat offender, no remorse, just keeps doing it again and again. And I don't think council thinks it's I really don't. And I'm just wondering, is there a way that we can go about to refer this to a higher entity? Because I'm really sick of this behaviour, and I'm sick of people in our community not feeling safe because of him throwing his weight around, and I'm sick of having to defend few questions from the public about why do you let him still there? Why is he allowed to do this? Why is there no why is there no recourse for his behaviour? And I just don't think it's satisfactory. He's been asked in the past to pay costs back. He hasn't done that.
That's all. None at all.
And paid a cent back of any cost to do with any investigation.
In fact, it just costs us more and more because he's constantly set off to retraining after retraining after retraining, and nothing changes. He might lie quiet for a little bit, but these are only the complaints that we hear about, and we all know that there are people in our community that come and complain to us but are too scared to make a complaint because they're so threatened by his behaviour in the first place. They don't want to make a complaint because they're even more frightened of what might happen afterwards. I don't find these satisfactory at all. Do not find them satisfactory at all.
Well, I'm not going to argue that I'm going to hand out information that I asked for, which was a copy of the information related to the previous breaches, the penalties that were imposed, including the request for repayment, including the amount of training that has been requested for Councillor Priest, including professional development that's been requested for Councillor Priest that he attended, including anger management training that we paid for, that the ratepayers paid for. The information is here. This is as per provided to the Messenger Press on previous occasions, I understand. Is that correct? Yeah, no problem. Not doing you any favours, I'm just doing it asking for it after. There's a copy for the gallery should you wish to see it. The list is long, and you'll notice towards the bottom an item you might have seen before. I agree with Councillor Lee. I'm not being tired of it, I'm past being tired of it. I think it's an injustice. And I'm really at a loss as to explain how, to our ratepayers, why we can't do something more than what we've done. What we've done is clearly proven to be inadequate. Haven't solved the problem, haven't stopped the problem.
Excuse me, David. Just a point. I just want to make it clear, I'm not condoning Bruce's actions, but I don't appreciate coming to a council meeting when you've asked on email for this information and you've received it and all elected members were CC'd in, and yet we don't get it, and then you give it to us here. Now, I haven't been here for all the incidents. Well, I don't know about the past, and then you expect me to sit here and digest it while we suspend meeting procedures.
Okay. Fair question. Can I ask the CEO to confirm the timing and what's happened with this report, please?
Oh yeah, it's taken some time to get this information together. Kerry and I were working on it just today. We only finalised it. I think Kerry was still working on it as we had dinner tonight. So literally it was a matter of urgency putting it together and taking it as of use for tonight's meeting. So literally it was not made available to the Mayor only for you. It's just been sit down for the meeting, it's provided with this. I don't think they've even read through it.
No, I even read through it during the meeting. I saw it the first draft at 5:30. So I just want to reassure you that I haven't had this and sitting on it ready to lay it out in front of you. This is only just...
It certainly does seem that way, and I think I appreciate why we would think that. And then also, I mean, the thing is here, and I'm not condoning Bruce's behaviour, but, I mean, you're asking us to analyse stuff, which obviously Monica wants to make amendments to the motion. I can see that that's going to happen. It then puts the staff in position where with what you're doing, as far as I'm concerned, what I see, you're making the staff look like they're doing favours for you as the Mayor. And I don't like that. And it does stink, as far as I'm concerned. I'm sorry.
It's a big accusation. I don't understand how
no, I'm sorry, because every time someone will email something to a director, I think this time it was Chris, every elected member is CC'd in, and a response is provided to every elected member. And I'm not saying it's the case, David, but I think it puts the staff in a very awkward position, and I don't like it.
We use the word stinks, mate. I'm not happy about that.
And I do think it stinks.
Well, I don't think understand that.
This is historical fact. There's no...
And that's what I'm saying, actually.
That's how before.
I haven't been here for this time, and I don't know the previous.
Well, hang on. They've been published in the Messenger Press. Everything except the last two items have been published in the Messenger Press.
So you think I haven't read the Messenger Press since 2009?
No, this is very recently, in this term. Since you've come on office.
We've got incidences going back from 2009.
They're all in the Messenger Press.
I'm not saying that I've read every single Messenger Press.
Well, in today, I won't get the Messenger for about another fortnight.
All I'm saying,
Months ago, I think.
all I'm saying is I just think it's put the staff in a very awkward position, and that I don't like that. And that's all I just want to say.
But no, you have to stand by that. I mean, you can't just say it and then be off the hook. So just to say, give me a copy of everything that's been in the newspapers. Well, I'm missing something.
No, I'm saying this was requested on email during the week, last week, and normal process is that every elected member is provided a response. And all I'm saying is that I would like to send this prior to council, because I think Monica's alluded that she doesn't like the motion that's up, and she's going to make it stronger.
To make stronger.
I mean, I can read it now, but I just think that it's put the staff in a very awkward position.
Your perception
is that David has had this, and David's clarified that he hasn't, but the perception is that the staff may have given that to the mayor. The mayor's had that for 3 days since the email to Chris. Does your perception see that no?
No, I suppose it's difficult because I've been here all the time. Yeah. But I would say this to you, and I believe what I would have done in your shoes, when the very first code of conduct came up, which you were here for, first one, the Bruce and
yourself?
and because of all the reports that came out at the time of the recidivist nature, if I had been you, I would have asked then for the staff to provide me with a copy of everything that's gone beforehand, so that you were in a better position to make judgments. That's what I believe you should have done.
And that's fine, but what I'm saying is the perception here is that even if David had got this at 5:30, I think it should have been made available to us all at 5:30. I'm sorry, that's my comment.
Well, I'm happy for the staff to answer this. I mean, I understand your perception. No, I don't understand.
It's not an attack on you, David. I'm just saying that it was. I'm saying that I feel sorry for the staff that are now being dragged into it, because I think everyone should be asking the question that you asked for this information 3 or 4 days ago on email, and the procedure is every single elected member that is on that email, not when you two have a little bickering on the email and all the staff get involved.
Yeah.
The standard response is that everyone just emailed back.
Okay, well, let's ask that question.
So from my point of view, that is the way we do things. And because I was still working on it and gave David a draft, so I didn't have the most recent one on it, I was still working on it. We printed it at 7 o'clock. If I emailed you, you may not have it till later. And I brought it down here at 7 o'clock. So that's much as I can tell you about that. But you're right, we do supply the same information to everyone.
Yeah,
I'm just saying the perception is that that's the way it could be construed. And I was just saying.
From a CEO's point of view, we strive really hard to ensure everyone gets all the information, part of our usual practice. So it appears that that's not the case. I can guarantee operationally that we work really hard to make sure we're not giving anyone preferential treatment, be it the mayor or anyone else. So it's just, obviously, it's given an appearance tonight that that's the case. I can guarantee you there's no intent.
Can we get back to Councillor Cruz?
Yeah, I can't lie, I was really uncomfortable there for a second. And I've got to say, I understand your concern. I haven't thought about that, but I understand your concern. I just want to reassure you that is certainly not the intention. This information is all in the public record, has been for a long time, except the last two. The reason I've provided it to you is not just to reinforce how many times the code has been breached. What I really want to draw your attention to is the column that says outcome at council meeting. And the reason for my request is twofold. One is, we've asked Bruce to go through a number of training opportunities, and it's cost us money. And I wanted to know when he spoke to the investigator in this current investigation and said he didn't have to comply with the code because he didn't sign it, and that he believed his right to free speech superseded his obligations under the code, to me that sounds like somebody who's not quite sure of their role. Okay, I want to look at that outcome at council meeting. Very first breach, 2008, item 2. Training be made available to all elected members. Item B, council briefs be required to attend such training. Don't see that one there. Next code breach in 2010, again in that same column, under item C, recommend that council please undertake professional development, including conflict resolution. The next breach in later on in 2010, item 2, council please undertake training in the area of workplace practices, especially regarding bullying. Over the page. Breach 12, same column, 1B, council please undertake a training course or receive appropriate instruction within the next 6 months on anger management. And so on and so forth. Mediation opportunities, of course, as well. You can see that council police has had multiple opportunities. In fact, I would say, I could be wrong, I would say he's had more training with obligations under the Act and under this code than any of us. I suggest more than most people in local government right now. So when I look at the investigator's report, I was really interested to know what excuse that council police provided. Well, sorry, I was interested to see whether he apologised and just said he was way out of line. He didn't actually say that. He said, I don't have to comply with the code because I never signed it. Well, I'm just assuring you, he knew exactly what his obligations were under the code, exactly. Now, when you've had an issue with signing this code and not signing this code, you know exactly what your obligations are under the Act, okay? Exactly. In my view, the statement that Councillor Priest made to the investigator didn't stack up. At the very least, didn't stack up. Other people might call it something else. When he said that the freedom of speech superseded his rights under the code, when you think about what that meant, in the context of all the training he's had, and in the context of all the counselling he's received, from me initially, and from the CEO throughout his 2 terms on council, about his rights and obligations under the Act.
I think he thought he was in Kentucky. They all three of them were in Kentucky.
I would have thought someone who's had multiple breaches might take the matter far more seriously. That's not indicated.
So, David, are you like leading up to the fact that it's going to be a waste of our time and money to send him to more training? I mean, you know.
I'll just before David answers, I'll just make the point that I might support the recommendation that refers to training. And I did that in June because for some of the reasons David just explained, and the fact that we fought tooth and nail for every single dollar in the budget, tooth and nail, every single dollar. I missed out on probably the last 4 years I've been here, probably missed out on 15 budget bids. I couldn't get a $1,000 nappy trial going. I'm sorry to harp on about that. But you know, every time we spend another 5,000, 10,000, 3,000 on training, that's something that's not happening in the community, and I'm not, particularly this close to an election as well. I will not support.
That's Operation Flinders, that's the food and wine trail.
And staff training. And I think David makes a reasonable point, which is lots of opportunities but no change in behaviour. And that's what gets up my nose.
So how do you reconcile the amount of training and the statement made to the investigator? What went through your mind when you read that?
I lied. I'm not going to say. Suffice to say.
So you have to back up.
Look, I was really disappointed. I mean, the fact that somebody can go through multiple training opportunities, and that's why I raised that point in the actual report itself, where he said Bruce said he doesn't understand his obligations as opposed to free speech, freedom of speech. I mean, that is nonsensical to me. Absolutely nonsensical that somebody could actually make that assertion, particularly after going through multiple training sessions. So it says one of 2 things to me. One, if the training we're putting him through is really poor, or 2, he doesn't have the cognitive ability to understand what the training's saying. That's the 2 options.
The third option.
ignores it.
But I just don't think he was fully frank with the investigator, in my view.
Well, one would hope he wasn't lying to the investigator, because that's a whole different conversation.
It's been hard when you're not there.
One benefit of the doubt here, but one would hope he wasn't.
I think too, Bruce makes a habit, Councillor Priest makes a habit always of blaming the other person. Every single time, he basically said it didn't happen. I always remember with the young girl here who frightened the life out of her and had the audacity to say that she sort of invented it so that her boss wouldn't be angry with her for not handing over the telephone or the phone number, the business card of her boss. I mean, that was just so utterly audacious to invent that, to try and get off the hook, to blame the other person.
Yeah, I think we're sort of going over all the old calls and all the rest of it. So, I think
actually said a single word at all in condemnation. And I think that's utterly disgraceful that you haven't. Not a word. You're the most senior member on this council. You were the mayor. The people of this city gave you that job. And yet in that last meeting, you didn't say one single word.
I did
yes, you did not say
on the record, I did so.
You said, look to do.
I'm not going in to argue with you.
Yeah, we're going at each other here.
Yes.
I'll have opportunities coming up on the lecture for that. How do you have your hand up?
Code of conduct of, telling...
I got a...
You see, that's why we've got to change it.
All right. I got a few things I'd like to say. I'll tell you sometimes we all make mistakes. Now, I start that, and I'm not going to say there's many mistakes here, but I was particularly there on the instance of this last instance. I was down at the fair, and I was sitting, and I was most probably the first person spoken to about it. And I won't say because there's a camera there, but the people that convinced me, because I was in the inclined to sort something out there, I didn't think about this paperwork or the future. I was pretty angry and was going to respond then and there. And lucky enough, some people suggested that wasn't the right thing to do, so it was the way I dealt with it. I come of mine, I get worried. And I'll talk about Bruce, and if he was sitting here, I'd say the same thing. Bruce has quite a few problems, but just a couple that I put in my head. He does have this loud voice. He does have this biggish body when he fronts up to people, pushing people around and whatever. And because I can't see in his ears, possibly I know that happens with some people that have crook ears, they speak loudly and stuff like that. So I see that, but put some of those things to the side. When we sit here and look at, you raise the things here, look what we've done all this time with training, look what we've done this, and you said, he has a whole lot, and actually I listened to what he said. When I sit here, we've got recommendations from someone, and I actually agree with Mark. I'd find it hard to support the one of training again, because that hasn't helped anywhere, But it's in there. There's recommendations come from a body that councils have endorsed and put together to try and sort out things. So it's a bit like going to court, and I don't want to go back to judge and juries and all those sort of discussions, but you go in and there's things that are tabled in front of you, and you go down that process. But a thing that made me angry, when you talk about some of the things that are angry, a thing that made me angry was one sentence, and this goes back to a lot of thoughts I've had, and people that have made comments to me, particularly once we put the other Australian flag, the Eureka flag up, and these other people, political people, that made comments in the paper, and that they also rang my family and me. So they're not very nice people, and some of these people are social. When he talked about his freedom of speech, and a policy. And David did point out to you, I didn't sign the policy the first time and that, and afterwards, because I didn't agree with it. But I knew I had to abide by it because it was the system, right? And to me, freedom of speech is the worst thing we ever talk about, because freedom of speech is something we should all be allowed to have. All be allowed to have, as long as it doesn't offend someone else, as long as it doesn't threaten someone else, as long as it doesn't lead to injury of other people. Freedom of speech should end then, and it shouldn't exist. Unfortunately, there's a few other things I think should happen, but when we go back in, I'd be accepting this recommendation or moving it. Very reluctant to point 3, and if he doesn't pay and doesn't do it, because that's what we've got in front of us. And that's what our role is. You know, if we want to sort out other ways or sort out other things, we become then perhaps the same sort of person. And I come from a different sort of world that you do sort out things other way, but to a degree it's not quite the correct way. Sometimes it's very beneficial, but it's not the correct way. And so that was the biggest line that hurt me in this whole report, and unfortunately the last 2 things, David, and I think someone gave us this other report, I didn't realise, I thought it was his, didn't realise it was mine to have a read and that. So I'd go along with this, but it's going to have to be, in 2 months, 3 months time, people are going to have to vote. The bloke sitting behind me, he'll most probably write what he wants, so people are going to read it and go down. Some of those, because I wasn't there that first 4 years and that sort of stuff, and I heard about it or seen about it, or didn't. I've just looked at some of the things here and I've never noticed them before, or I just read things. We had an incident with another councillor here, and, you know, things about a bloody camera, about a camera that was in a place and saw it, and I thought, oh, I'd be good with that. If I was in court, I'd be innocent, because it was a waste of time. That, not the councillor's comments or the other councillor's comment, but the camera was a waste of time. So I think it's absolutely disgusting. I think speaking to someone in almost anyone in our community, but someone that's put a lot of effort in our community with the arts, and not just the art. If you look at some of the history of Prospect, that this particular person, and it could be anyone, but this particular person has played a role for humanity in our city and all over the world. And that's what really made me, and I still feel like it right now, but that particular day at the park, I had a different attitude. So when we go back, because this is what's in front of us, that's what I'm going to accept, you know, but it's not what's going to make me happy.
Okay. Think about the additional items or raised for actually for the start of this conversation.
We've all witnessed, it isn't just about the record of you know, how many times it's come up in the code of conduct. We have witnessed in workshops how disgusting and disgraceful this behaviour is towards staff. So it's not like we're sitting here saying, well, you know, I wasn't there. We've all seen it happen. And I cannot support this recommendation in one little way because it's so pathetic. I'm wondering, can we let it lie on the table and write to the LGGP and just say, how does that satisfy the outcome? Is there something else we can do? Because this means nothing to you. And even after, you know, what's there, it's still going to mean nothing to you. There needs to be something different. And I'm just wondering, can we let it lie on the table, write to the LGGP and just say, come on, something else has got to happen.
Terry, what do you think would happen if we did that?
We have to get on the table and then a formal motion to...
But if we ended up doing that and wrote to the LGP, what would their reaction be when we said, we don't think this is adequate?
What else can they do under the code?
Yeah, wouldn't they just come back and say you don't...
They do under the code. They can't do anything either.
They
They'll probably charge us to relook at it.
That's why I said.
And that's the insurance situation that's spoken to them out.
There's nothing else they can do in the code.
Right. So I'm hearing from people that we're pretty frustrated about just what to do and how to make something to stick that's worthwhile. And I'm certainly doing that way myself. I want to read you something I prepared earlier that I haven't sent anybody, okay, just to be clear.
You didn't ask any staff.
I just couldn't get in front of it. Don't ever help me. So I'm unaware of it. It might stop me halfway through it. And I also want to make known that whilst I've expressed some discomfort with Councillor Priest sitting on the discussion, he's chosen to leave the room, but I've been informed that he's sitting in the very next room where the walls don't go to the ceiling. So in my view, he's still within earshot, and that makes me decidedly uncomfortable. Decidedly uncomfortable. And I'm not sure what I'll do about that. Okay.
Well, correction, that is something you can do about it because the rules are quite clear that they aren't to be within earshot of the, if they're declared a conflict and they're out.
Okay. No, I just remind people about the amount of training that was done.
I think it would be fair to Councillor Priest to at least the CEO to let him know that. He probably just doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to be to hear what's happening, what's been said.
Touche, Ashley. Touche.
You haven't sent it to me yet, David.
Yeah, where's the
Okay, we didn't have it.
I'm sorry, Scott, I didn't mean to. And this, what I'm about to read is not easy, okay, but I want you to, I'm concerned about the change here. This latest incident, I agree with Al, really concerns me, not just because of what was done, but who it was done to. Former Citizen of the Year, and a very slight woman to take, to just emphasise that. But I want to start off here. I declare I have no knowledge, no opinion of Mr. Bruce Priest. I was running for council 8 years ago. Except I heard that he'd only recently moved into our city and was a resident for only about 6 months or so. I remember this because I found it curious that someone new to our city would think they knew enough about our area and our community and their hopes and aspirations to offer to represent them on council. Either that, or this was a person intent on seeking office for other reasons, reasons that I did not at the time understand. I've had a number of calls and comments from concerned ratepayers regarding this most recent matter, that they find the whole matter disgusting, that this bloke is wasting their hard-earned money, that he doesn't deserve to be a councillor, and he certainly does not deserve an annual allowance, especially at the same time he's cost ratepayers so much money and refused to pay back a cent. Lots of thoughts. Their concern over his behaviour I concurred with because I find it unacceptable. Their concern over costs and abuse of their hard-earned money was something I thought on a little bit more. And it's because I find it curious that we as elected members have very little, if any, direct control over how our ratepayers' money is spent. Our decisions are as a collective. Nothing happens unless we vote for it. Yet here we have one councillor who proclaims to be the saviour of the ratepayer regularly, who refuses to vote for budgets because they contain expenditure that he doesn't approve of. To be the one councillor in absolute and direct control of spending a substantial amount of ratepayers' money. And he appears to do so in utter contempt of the ratepayer, as far as I can see. Let me explain what I mean. This is an elected official who, several years ago, refused my council as the mayor.
And meeting procedures, were they finished at 9?
They were, sorry, yes. Suspend meeting procedures until 9:30. All those in favour? Against? Is carried and suspended. Thank you.
I'll take that as a compliment.
This is elected official who several years ago refused my council in dealing with alleged breaches of the Code of Conduct. Used to come to the mayor with the CEO's assistance. He refused my counsel. He declared that I was unsuitable to preside over Code of Conduct allegations related to him because he alleged I had a bias. A claim I denied, but a perception from at least one person that I was forced to acknowledge. To provide absolute clarity about the allegation at hand required the ratepayer to fund an external and independent investigator to assess the allegations, a process that continues to this day. Allegation after allegation, breach after breach, cost after cost. This is an elected official who forced that cost on the ratepayer. Yet when proven guilty, breach after breach, refuses to repay the ratepayer, even when specifically asked to do so by council. The council elected to represent those same ratepayers. This refusal continues to this day. It gets worse. This is an elected official who knew without a shadow of a doubt that the guilty finding against him in late 2010 would result in council publishing the guilty finding in the local newspaper. Why was he so certain of this? Because it is exactly what council had done with the previous guilty finding out of exasperation that he had not complied with or learnt from even earlier guilty findings. This is an elected official who chose to seek an injunction against council's actions, forcing our CEO to seek costly legal advice, once again at the expense of the ratepayer, to the tune of many thousands of dollars. Once again, the elected official who claims he fights for the ratepayer chose deliberately and carefully to waste their hard-earned money. Why did he seek an injunction? Because the guilty finding and the publication sought by council in the local newspaper was going to clash with his campaign. The injunction he sought was completely self-serving. It was not in the ratepayers' interests, and yet his actions forced the ratepayers to pay for it. What was in the interests of the ratepayer was in them being fully informed about an elected official who had once again been found guilty of breaching the code of conduct, who actively denied them that knowledge, all the time knowing that he was doing so at their expense, both in their democratic rights and in their hypocrisy. This was an elected official who avoided being tested on court over this matter while withdrawing his action. His withdrawal was conditional on each party bearing its own costs. Once again, he chose a path deliberately and carefully to use ratepayers' money for his own benefit. Note that withdrawal was too late to have any effect on the election campaign. This is an elected official who knew he was guilty. He knew the consequences. He still sought to deny the ratepayer knowledge that was critical to them and to cost them even more money in the process. When a selection of fellow candidates sought to make the same information public, nothing more, nothing less, they were threatened, bullied in fashion that we're only too familiar with now. What an injustice it appears to be that he was re-elected. A decision that cannot be undone by anyone in this room, as appalled as some of us were. Incredibly disappointing. But it gets worse. You'll recall an incident between the multiply guilty elected member we find ourselves dealing with again tonight, and the otherwise completely innocent Councillor Dixon, who had not, and still has not, been found guilty of any breach that I'm aware of. Unless you've got one secret somewhere. The incident was outside the chamber, as has every single breach by this repeat offender thing. All of them outside the chamber. This is the first one with an elected member of council. In my view, and I stress that as all it is, just my view, Councillor Priest's behaviour at the time was in direct response to his failure to have council agree to apply the same penalties to Councillor Dixon in response to Councillor Priest's allegation of a breach related to the magazine article. You might remember. Council had heard the matter in my view very minor in nature, which I referred to council for full transparency as it related to Councillor Priest, who brought the allegation to me, and he previously accused me of bias. So I felt in no position to dismiss that minor nature matter. I thought I had to bring it to council for you to decide. The incident was heard by council, and Councillor Dixon agreed to a mediation process. You may recall that Councillor Priest was questioned as to his view of an appropriate penalty should Councillor Dixon be found guilty, which I stress he was not. Councillor Priest replied that he wanted a written apology, and among the other things he listed, publication of the finding in the local newspaper. Not one other elected member agreed with this as being either necessary or appropriate for a first-time offender, and one that appeared genuinely contrite and willing to participate in mediation.
You retract the first-time offender?
I'm sorry, So, at the first time, what's the subject for some of the allegations made against accused, indeed, not offender at all. You may not all be aware that Councillor Priest initially refused to participate in any mediation. Was he again, in his initial refusal, acting in contempt of council's actions? A council elected by the ratepayers to try and sort the stuff out. It gets worse. There was only one witness to the scene of that incident, Mr. Justin Collins. In my view, Councillor Priest was well aware of what he'd done and who had seen what happened. It distressed me greatly, although perhaps I should not have been surprised, that within days Councillor Priest had lodged a complaint about Mr. Collins with the CEO. A serious allegation, one involving physical violence, in front of a number of witnesses. The CEO and I spoke to Councillor Priest in front of his support person, Councillor Barnett. He was adamant that he had been seriously hurt by Mr. Collins, jabbed hard in the ribs. The CEO had to take the complaint seriously. An investigation was ordered. An independent investigator was appointed, again at the ratepayer's cost. They looked at the video footage, interviewed witnesses and tried to establish what had actually happened. It's vital for you to recognise that this was all happening at the time that Mr. Collins was participating in the inquiry about the incident outside the chamber between Councillors Dixon and Priest. At the time that Mr. Collins may have been considering what he saw or didn't see, or how sure he could really be about what happened. So while Mr. Collins is being accused of physically assaulting Councillor Priest, he is in a critical position. What he chooses to say or not say may have a fundamental impact on the determination of the incident between the two councillors. In my view, and I'll stress all this, my view, completely untested, I could be completely wrong, but I do find it a very, very curious coincidence. Very curious. I wonder about the motives of the people involved in that incident. I suspended any suspicions I might have had until the findings of the independent investigation were complete. At a cost of $5,500 to the ratepayer. The findings were categorical. No findings of physical violence in any form. In fact, the investigator went further and found the complaint was vexatious. Vexatious. We all know what that means.
I'll have a look when I get home.
If you know what that means.
I can guess.
I want you to think hard about this coincidence. I want you to draw your own conclusions as to what was really going on.
What's the reason we didn't find out about this?
Because the matter was a code of conduct for employees, and as a result of that, the investigation is confidential, and there's no reporting ability for me to report employee code of conduct matters to council.
It's just staggering. I'm just so gobsmacked because
I understand
they didn't get close to each other.
I understand you gobsmacked.
Yeah.
You understand why I'm frustrated, and you may now equal my frustration. This matter has not been reported because the reasons the CEO stated. We've checked as late as tonight to make sure that Mr. Collins is happy for this information to be discussed, and he is. He's got nothing to hide. More costs, more complaints, more inquiries, more guilty findings than I've ever heard of in local government about an individual. The result? More training, that's why I got that spreadsheet, so I asked for the spreadsheet. More therapy, more counselling than I can recall any elected member receiving in the recent history of this council. That's it. I'm sure, Christine, whether someone else got more counselling in your time than your long time.
No, we didn't have counselling. We didn't have to waste counsellors' money. We just had peer group pressure.
Well, that worked for you, that's good. Hasn't worked for us. More ratepayer money than ever expended on a council in this place than I've ever heard of. All in all to hear in his defence during the last investigation that he didn't realise his loud voice was intimidating. Quite frankly, I just do not believe it. Councillor Priest tells us that he's hard of hearing. I cannot recall, I've tried very hard, I cannot recall a time at this meeting or in a workshop where he was asked for anything to be repeated. I cannot recall it. I find it difficult to substantiate there's a significant hearing problem. He then goes on to say he didn't realise he was legally bound by the code. He believes in some undefined freedom of speech rights, possibly from some other country. And this allows him to intimidate and offend people whenever he does, whenever he chooses. All the while drawing a stipend from the local ratepayers of our great city. I would like this elected member to justify to me and the ratepayers why he should not be considered a fraud. He claims to defend the ratepayer, then rips him off by his actions. He votes against budget but refuses to pay back expenses caused entirely by him and entirely in his control. He did more legal training than any of us, but claims not to know the law, nor to be bound by it. But that's not all. You only see the complaints that have been formalised. I've been approached by numbers of people since Councillor Priest was elected with complaints who declined to take them further due to fear of being intimidated or made the subject of legal action. This person has a reputation in the community, and it's not a reputation that I envy. I think many of you know what I mean. I can relate one such complaint to you, told to me directly. A young woman, 19 I believe, was recently walking home down California Street in Nailsworth when Councillor Priest approached in his car. With the window down, he started inquiring about the young woman's nationality, calling out to her in Chinese. She did not stop walking, and Councillor Priest persisted in curb crawling along next to her in his car. She told me she was polite but somewhat alarmed at this behaviour and the persistence of the driver in seeking to start a conversation with her, as he was completely unknown to her. Perhaps finally beginning to sense a discomfort, Councillor Priest said something to the effect of, "Look, it's okay, I'm a councillor for the City of Prospect," and held out one of his cards. The young woman replied along the lines of, "Oh, I know David O'Loughlin, he's on that council, isn't he?" Councillor Priest abruptly terminated the conversation and drove off. That young woman was distressed, not sure what she should do, or whether it was safe for her to choose that route home again. One thing I can tell you for sure is she had no doubt who it was that caused her to feel that way. Because he held out his card. Perhaps the councillor could explain why he did this. If he was simply being friendly, why doesn't he do it to every resident, of every nationality, of every age, of every gender? What was really going on, and what consideration did he give to how this young woman was made to feel? So I ask you, the point of this is not because I have a vendetta against this councillor. I want to protect the reputation of this council, and I feel incredibly frustrated with a new code that can't look backwards. I ask you to tell me why we shouldn't refer this matter, this chain of events, and this failure to change to the Office for Public Integrity. And I want to explain why. We've been frustrated for years now with our weak powers under the Act, that we can't do any more than we have done. We've been frustrated at this individual's failure to take responsibility in full for what he's done, for the hurt he's caused some of our citizens, and the money he has cost our ratepayers. And I think now it would be up towards $60,000. 0.5% rate rise. We hope the new code would take into account his previous breaches, but again we're left frustrated that it does not. That's why I draw your attention to the new Office of Public Integrity. It's only been in operation since late last year. It is new. It represents a new pathway we can choose to take to seek justice for a repeat offender, in a way that the new code currently doesn't allow us to do. The Office of Public Integrity can consider all matters. It can go back in time to look at the nature of previous breaches. It can request a full list of complaints from our citizens, including those from those too fearful or too intimidated to take the matter further, but on record as having a complaint. And I recommend it to you as one of the things that we put in our recommendations. Because I agree with the comments made here, training will make no difference. And I think we need to do something to escalate this matter in a way which is meaningful, Because I don't know how we can get meaning out of what we're proposed to do in the papers. Now, having said all that, I fully expect this person will attack me personally and legally for what I've said tonight. That's what he's done before, and all the evidence before us will continue to behave as he's behaved. But I'll deal with it, because bullies should be exposed for what they are. And I'll not stand on one side again, and once again allow this person to put themselves up for election again, declaring they are a fit and proper person, a person of integrity, that council, or some people within this council, have some kind of vendetta or witch hunt against that person. That he's somehow a victim in this process, and all that's preceded, and he's worthy of the ratepayers' support again. For he's proved to be anything but worthy of their support. Not through my actions, so I'm just trying to state the facts. Not through council's actions, because I believe council is trying to seek to protect the ratepayer and provide a system of certitude, justice, goodwill for the community. He has placed himself in this position, entirely through his own actions. His failure to repay the ratepayers, and his failure to learn, and his failure to adapt in a way befitting of an elected official of any council, not just this one. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he threatened to sue the entire council, or each of us separately. Furthermore, if he did this, he would know absolutely and precisely that his actions would sheet straight home to the ratepayer, and even more of their hard-earned money would be burnt. Dealing. I go further, and I declare that anyone in this chamber who knows what they know, and yet still stands up for this person and defends at any level what he's done in these breaches, done to our citizens and to the ratepayers, and their money, and our reputation, then through their own actions, we choose to support this individual. We ourselves will be judged by their actions. I'm certainly not putting myself in that position. So I'll conclude. I'm sorry that's taken a while. It was important to link those things together so you can see a chain. The chain's incredibly important. I seek your support to refer the matter, and always before it, regarding Councillor Priest, the Office of Public Integrity for their consideration. They are more skilled than us, and they are more appropriate to decide if the penalties that we choose to impose tonight are all that needs to be imposed. Thank you for your indulgence. I'm happy to take
Sorry, question. This Office of Integrity or something, instead of that.
I believe that we have powers that we should use, that we should pass a motion tonight that deals with it as much as we can. As one of those parts of the recommendation, we also refer the matter to the Office of Public Integrity, so that they can say, is that all that needs to be done, or do they think something more should be done? I don't think I'll take away what we propose tonight, because we can't impose a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're suggesting that we keep everything as it is, including the training, to show that we're doing the best that we can, and then we add in another point.
I'm happy. I agree about the training.
Okay.
No, I agree totally, because my whole thing, that nothing.
Sorry, to be clear, I would like us to have a discussion about whether we publish a local paper. I've got an open mind, I'm not sure that it was raised. I'd like to have a discussion about whether we invite the councillor to take lead. We can't impose, we can't request, but we can invite as we did before. That was something we did before. Obviously I'm requesting now that we refer the matter and all previous matters to the OPI. I totally agree about the training. I think it's a waste of our resources. That's what I intend to do. And some of this is really important, that we've dealt with the breach. We agree there's a problem. That we ask him to make an apology, that we censure the councillor, that we recognise the costs and we ask him to repay the costs. I think that stuff's really important.
So just a question in terms of any referral to the OPI. If we were to decide to do that, I'm just trying to reconcile my mind. If we say, here's an action that we endorse tonight recommendations plus the OPI referral, wouldn't we have to wait for the OPI to come back and say, this is what we think, what you need to do before you endorse these recommendations? I'm just trying to work out chicken and egg. If we still do what we do, and I think we should do something now, because the OPI thing will take months.
Yes, it will.
So I think there needs to be something now. But I'm just worried that we're going to put ourselves in a situation where they come back and say, oh, we can't do 1 and 2 because we're going to do
That's a good question. I mean, I'm not sure whether Terry I've got any opinion because it's pretty new territory.
Another clause that seeks to have that opinion.
What's the purpose in which we're referring to the OPI? Yeah. Because if we're referring it on the basis that we want them to tell us what we need to do in terms of responding to the breach, that's one thing. Or if it's a referral to the OPI on the basis of behaviour, irrespective of our outcome of the breach, that's a separate issue. So I'm just trying to work out the best.
Can I make a suggestion? Maybe a long suggestion before, but this is procedural in terms of what you've got before you. I think item 1 still makes a lot of sense. That we note we've investigated it, and that we note that the report says governance panel has made that finding that there's been a breach. I think we could easily pass that tonight.
Can we just correct the numbering on the subpoints?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 1.1 and 1.2. So no, they're direct quotes. They're direct quotes out of the...
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Actually, good. There is a good one below down there.
Yeah.
Part 2, I think we should ask the councillor to apologise to Ms Nielsen. I think that's only fair and reasonable. I'm not sure why we wait months to ask for an apology. I'm in your hands, but
we're bringing that to
Well, I'm actually being really punitive because I'm deeply fed up about this behaviour. Not only do we apologise at the council meeting, but that will also be published in the messages.
That's a separate document.
well, yeah, can we just get the extra bits in a bit? That was a thought, and you can argue that. But I would have thought that we'd want to progress the apology bit.
I think it should be sooner because
So people are okay that we've, because you're right, the OPI thing could take 6 months, and I don't think it's fair to allow that not to be done. The training item 3, we don't think it's worth the main, so take that out. Now, item 5 is an easy one. That we review our own code just to see if there's any further improvement. So you think, oh, well, we can do that while the OPI is having a look, right? So then it only comes down to item 4. In my view, item 3.3 can go, which solves some of the sub-number problems, because we're not asking to do any professional development. Item 3.1 can stay or go. We can choose to do it, and I think the OPI would say that was inappropriate. The next one is understanding.
What does that one mean?
Extension motion.
Well, we have to formulate that.
Very good question. CEO, can you...
It's just a statement from council condemning the actions of the Lincoln and down. Last time we listened to
We've done it before, and it is basically a formal statement saying we don't accept it. It further reinforces our finding, I guess. And beyond that, it means it doesn't do anything more.
I think it just gets behind places and say, you know, I remember
The complainant may wonder why we didn't censure the amendment if we chose not to.
No, I didn't know what it meant.
They might say we had a finding, but you didn't tell them off. The censure motion is the closest to telling off as we can get. So that's why it's part of the remedy kit.
Need something strongly worded, I think, to make it any idea or notion of censure.
That's a good point, CEO and manager, because item 3.1 says pass the censure motion, but it doesn't actually have the motion before.
No, that's what I think we actually need to do as, well.
Yeah, so we may need to follow that right now, and I might call a brief adjournment to allow that to happen. Item 3.2 is important, not just because, as I've banged on about, a lot of money going west here, but this is one of the changes in the new code. Previously, we asked for the council to repay the money. Invited, now we can request. Tell us, what's the effect of requesting?
Semantics.
It's not semantics under the new code.
Speaking to a lawyer, it's still untested, but in their reading, the intent is that council says that the councillor has to pay. money.
Can we require the face request?
I think the code
Are we down
Well, that's what we're...
You've got the most hope of getting something through.
You use the same words. Now, the reason this is important, as I understand it, the new code provides an escalation in treatment of a failure to comply with council's requests. Previously, the council had thumbed the nose and said, I'm not going to do the training, I'm not going to go to mediation, I'm not going to pay you back a cent, and so and so to your grandmother. We could do nothing. Now I understand that if we request and the elected member refuses, that it can ultimately turn to a district court action to impose that as a requirement. Failing to comply with a court order can lead to grounds for dismissal. Okay? So it sets off a chain of events that is, at last, enforceable, as opposed to the previous code where virtually nothing was enforceable unless they went completely insane or robbed a bank or some other thing that triggered a dismissal clause. So what I would encourage you to do, councillors, is it might seem a bit odd because we might wait for the OPI signing, but I think we should set in place that trigger, in my So that brings us back. I think Mark made a good point that why we do something now while we do nothing. I think there's a logic to doing a fair bit of this that I think still holds true. So are people comfortable with that? Because I want to try and get that. So
we take out 3.3.
Yes, take out 3 and 3.3. I'll come to that. Yes, I think we should make that. So, yes, we should think the third amendment will treat matters related to the OPI.
No, through the, I know it's not through the chair. But, just a question about point 5. Just mindful about confidentiality nature. Does that still imply or not? I don't know. So I'm asking you the question.
Sure. Isn't it all we have to deal with the public now, this stuff?
This we have to do with the public, but there's the next step. There's another step of part 3. It becomes confidential once it gets to a certain
point. Yeah, there's a difference between the OPI and the ICAC.
So, and it should be noted that any member at any time can refer any of this under the Act.
In fact, if we believe that there's been a breach, we, under the code, have to refer. So we're in breach, which is one of the things they're saying, please, can you have a look at that? That's pretty high hurdle.
Yeah.
In terms of confidentiality, that referral does not, in my understanding, does not need to be in confidence. What the OPI choose to do is up to them and their rules. And I've got to say, I don't understand it entirely. If we want
I'm just thinking devil's advocate. Let us report this tomorrow, or whenever the messenger comes out. Don't read it all the time, David. But when it does come out, I mean, I guess, and I still don't understand it. It's still very cloudy, and I guess that's why I'm just asking the question. Is that, well, then he could turn around, snub his nose, and say, well, hang on, I reported in the messenger. Now it's, guilty before proven innocent. Does that come into it, or I'm just being careful. I mean, that's the only thing. I don't know.
Jerry, you want to give a more objective view, I guess?
But yeah, I understand what Councillor Roberts is saying.
The breach has been found.
That's what I think. That's my view.
That's just a matter of going to the office, and that if the complaint is at the office.
We found the breach under the panel. I'm just trying to think because it's new. I don't quite get it. But so we've under the LGA panel, whatever it's called, they've found him guilty, and we're sort of, I think around the table is that we agree with it. But what David's asking us to refer is actually what has happened previously. Is this correct, David? And the chain of events, and can we imply harsher penalties?
Right.
Or something.
I think we should be quite careful how we word this. There's no doubt about that. And I just see leave of the need to extend the session meeting procedures until 10 o'clock. If we met, all those in favour? Against is carried and the suspension continues. Perhaps if I suggest...
I just don't want to come back after we do all this. And this is from the point of that, as you mentioned earlier, that you're uncomfortable with this issue. And then the OPI come back and say, well, no, hang on, well, that's not correct what you've done. It should be an individual saying, I don't know, I'm just saying if they come back, then what way we're going to feel going further.
I have asked the senior people in the LGA about this matter, and they think it's very straightforward. In terms of the referral of the matter, I do think it's reasonable, both for us and for Councillor Priest, to be frank, that we couch it in terms of referring the matter to the OPI for their consideration and advice as to whether any further penalty should be applied.
It's also protecting us as councillors. If we've been found under the Act that we haven't reported it high enough.
Well, I think that's a good point.
Didn't we have I asked Councillor Priest to relocate to another room. He refused, but since that time he is now my home. So just
very shortly thereafter, he didn't stay long.
Yeah.
Quite soon after.
Can I just clarify that under 5, I think that wording's too loose.
Yeah, also let's try and get something around that. We might have a go at that when we go for a break. I think I know the intent. So can we just pick up a couple more words as relating to Councillor Priest started? Integrity at the end for their consideration.
Gather up all the evidence and put it into a package.
And advice as to the appropriateness of further penalties. We'll try and... Sorry, members. So we'll try and pick it up. I want to move to the other items about publication and requesting inviting leave. Previous findings related to breaches. And other related matters, I guess, just so it's all.
Sorry, just about this, whether we put something in about making sure we've carried out our duty as a council or something to that effect, which might strengthen it a bit.
How do you...
Just because under the Act, we know about all this now.
Yeah.
Whether you've provided this.
Well,
and not knowing, and this is on serious, not knowing about the actual previous things. The outcomes have been pretty weak.
Pretty what?
Pretty weak. Train.
Yeah, that's
what
I've been saying. It's
in the new code, repeat section 2s escalate to a 3, but they are serious. In the initial code, they didn't have that. The trouble is, this is the first of the new code. We can't take the old code, which is real dumb.
So I just want to make sure we're protecting us as individuals and us as a council.
I kind of get where you're coming from, but I'm not quite sure. Can you have a look at the words and see if you want to put some others in there to pick up on the matter you raised? Can I just draw your attention to something I actually raised, because we published in the local paper, I presume that is item 1, 2, well, whatever we choose to do tonight. That's what we published before, wasn't it? Just a straight out copy of the resolution in the paper. Yes. With no colour, no beers, stills, nothing. Just City of Prospect hereby notifies the public of Council's resolution. Here it is. So as you just talk to us why you think that's worth doing.
I think it's what we've done before. I think we sit here on behalf of the public, and they should know very clearly what's happened tonight. And I think, particularly if we're spending their money hand over fist on these issues, they should know about it. Not the least, Councillor Briggs thought it was pretty important to do in the issue against me when there was no finding. But I think it's what we've done before, and I think in any case like this, the public should be made very aware of their conduct where it's of this kind of their elected members, particularly when it's bullying their very own residents and people in the city. And I would go further to this, because I would also like to see added to this that we step up another month and suggest Council please take 3 months leave of absence.
I'll come to that in a second.
Yeah, that's a separate issue.
So can I just comment on the advertisement? I'd be torn by this because, yet again, we're spending money on something that is a bit futile. I presume it goes in the Messenger as opposed to the advertiser. And no disrespect to Messenger readers, but not everyone reads Messages, so it's not really...
Send it to the letters from you.
It's got to read Messenger either. I'm just not sure what value that's going to bring. What value it's going to bring. I understand that publicising is important. I think Curtis no doubt is going to have something. A copy ready by 12 o'clock tonight. Well, I just don't know why we would spend another $500 on putting the bill. Sorry?
What about?
Well, on our website and Facebook.
Yeah, I would. I agree with the sentiment that it should be publicly recorded. I don't agree with spending money to do it.
Like I said, I'm being confused.
And I don't I'm as hurt as anybody about the money, but sometimes you've got to pay. You have got to spend money to make it clear to the public. And as much as anything, we come up to a time when people are going to make a decision about whether they want anyone or all of us to stand again.
There is an alternative that we ask Councillor Priest to publish his apology in the paper.
Well, we can't force him to do that, though.
We can request him
I'm very reluctant to allow that. All sorts of words find their way into those sort of apologies, and end up looking like ads.
Got no control over it.
I'm similarly divided in my thinking about this. Well, and the other thing that's rattling around in my mind is the last time we did this, Councillor Priest launched an injunction against us. It was very, very expensive. And because Council had made a decision, the CEO is obliged to fight the injunction because he has to comply with Council's decision. I don't really want to provide an opportunity for that wasted money to happen again.
And how do we go with timing, because it just goes over into a caretaker?
No, thank you.
Sorry.
I'm waiting on it.
We would be published next week, I presume, if we decide tonight. Is that right? Yeah, so that's caretaker.
Yeah, I don't think you should waste any time. You need to.
I think we should do that. I think we're just duty bound to spend that money. Sometimes you have to. I know. Archie is everything in line with dirty napkins, but this is money you've just got to spend, I believe. And to make the public aware.
How much is it roughly?
Yeah.
Several $100?
Depending how big it is, one about that big.
What about one column?
About 620.
Yeah.
So. No, I think let a news story do talking.
No, I think we're duty bound.
Well, I get what you're saying, but I thought the fact that at a point where God knows what he's doing there.
But we put it in. We don't leave the word in. We put in what we've got here.
Making silence.
No, we just say this is what the council decided.
Okay. Any further comments on that one? Because I'm going to ask for a bit of a show of hands as to what we do with that one. But I think I can see the consistency argument, there's no doubt about it. We've done it before, we decided that every time there was a breach that after a lot of repeats, it flows from that entirely. I think it would give some comfort to people that they would go, oh, finally, you've done a bit more, okay.
Well, I kind of think about the people too who don't want to report, too scared to report. So, maybe something like that helps them, get some recourse as well.
Yeah, phone number saying please call if you want to talk about anything else. You need counsel then.
There's something I haven't mentioned before, but I'm the most approachable person, I don't mean as person, but I sit on Prospect Road with the door open 4 days a week, and I have had unlike Canberra, it talks about thousands of people actually, but I've had 30 or 40 women boys women walk through my door, sometimes haranguing me because I haven't sacked him on council. You explained I just don't have authority yet. I'm working on it. And for his behaviour, apparently his wife was a school teacher.
Don't go there.
When people drove into the car park, he would bully the hell out of them for about them driving in or where they should park. And she said, she said, I don't park anywhere near the school anymore, which is probably a good thing for the school. I'm just too afraid of him.
Yeah, I understand those sentiments. And so that part of that appeals to me because it makes a statement in the public arena about, we've heard it, recognise it, we're applying penalties. I get it. How other people feel about it?
I think if that's the intent, the story on the front page of Messenger will serve the same thing. And not suggesting it's going to be, but I suspect it's going to be reported publicly. I can't just go spending money on this when we've just had a conversation around that.
Scott, Alan, do you have a view on this one?
I think it's going to be on the front page.
We cannot control that. We can control asking for an ad. So just address that one.
I'll agree with Mark. I mean, it's just unfortunate as councillors, and Council said it before, that we get put in this position by one person, and it's disappointing, but and it's like, as you said, they haven't learned, and I don't think that an ad in the Messenger is going to teach them anything. And I'll speak to Bruce and I'll catch up with him outside of council that it's just gone too far. And we saw Lydia's response on the email that she felt that she had to clarify further. I just don't think it's going to serve any purpose. It's just unfortunately we're just so tightly distributed.
Yeah. Okay. Alan, you have a view?
If the story came first, second page, well and good, because I don't think there can be any other type of report. I've seen, I've seen Murdoch change things backwards once, so there's I find that's most of it. Putting here, the only concern, and with the other bits that we're talking about there, is my concerns us sort of putting Lindy's name in the paper. If it's reported, that's live, and she hasn't gone into hiding about it. I just had that bit of concern. The $1,000 in the nappies and that, I have to unfortunately support the minister on that it might be the stage that we have to say something. And I won't say due respect, but the chap behind me, he'll write his version. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but he'll write his version of it that I feel more comfortable us putting our version from us. They'll have the CEO or the mayor underneath and bang. I do have a bit of fear that he goes to the injunctions and all that, but I'll have to remember not to use that word, but that's life. You take it on and you take it on. And I believe your determination and a few others here that it's time to sort of take it on.
Okay. And sorry, just to be fair, the majority feels it's the way to go.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure of the majority yet. Monica, do you have a view then?
Well, I'm not feeling very generous tonight, so I say give me the correct.
That's one thing that's put on.
Metaphorical. Let me clarify that.
Okay, so you're that. You just for publication, Christina?
Yes, I just I'm thinking, at least on our prominently on sort of the website, a Facebook page, because I think, they're fairly widely read, I suppose.
The information was specifically Bay City North Messenger.
Oh, sorry.
council website?
Well, I'm trying to say we should include that it goes on council website.
I agree with Christine on everything, yeah.
I don't think you'll argue against expanding it, but specifically on publication.
Yes. And I think that, I'm just thinking timing, the apology is going to be made the 26th of August, so the time frame is possibly, you know, blurb in the press, our Facebook, our web page, and then the paid advert. So, yeah, I just think, can we just put a, I don't want to spend any more than...
Are you talking about the extension motion or the...
the publication, so, so keep costs reasonable.
Yeah, it's like under, can we do it for under $500?
I think you just bear in mind that it's got to be legible, and depending on how long you choose to make the motion tonight, then it will cost more. So otherwise,
let's get it very snappy then.
I think I can read is no use, is it? So you're talking about a date. My understanding is that once this resolution is passed, the staff are duty bound to follow it.
Yes. So
and I don't personally see any reason to wait till the 26th of August. We just get on with it.
Yes. And I think there should be some wording, as I think was mentioned in the messenger ad, about, you know, if some wording about, you know, if members of the public wish to contact us on this matter or something, I don't know.
I'd be very happy to put that in, because there are a number of people who have expressed concern. If the people have it, we put a single line under there saying, if you have concerns regarding this matter or any other matter, please call a line, and I would encourage that to be some independent part. So is that okay? Sorry, I was just talking about this.
Yeah. As long as it's not going to cost us.
Councillor Bain got a tuning where I was at, that we could have a line at the bottom that says, if you have any concerns about this matter or any other matter, please feel free to call this number.
What, my number or something?
Boy, you'd want to have a big note there.
How are we going to work that? I mean, I'm not sure.
Do we have
but what does that cost us 5 times the ad?
Yeah.
So please, just contact council.
We have a human resource person?
Well, if you're happy for it to be the CEO, which all other complaints go to, then that makes it easy.
Be happy for the CEO.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So that looks like to me there's at least majority support for an ad. I think Mark said you'd be happy to come on board.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's take it that during the break I'll call them short money. We'll polish that clause up to do that. The invite to take leave, I think, is the last item. So the Office of Public Integrity one, we'll polish that one up. The censure motion, I think Chris makes a good point. We'll come up with an actual censure motion to pass at this meeting, rather than say we'll pass one at some other meeting. That doesn't seem to make sense, so we'll do that. So the last item is the invitation to take leave. Bearing in mind, can't force it. He's elected. It's his right to be here, but last time he ultimately took up that invitation and requested leave, is my understanding. Right? So,
can I just point out again, timing for asking him to be here for the 26th of August apology, then I'd have to take leave after.
I know, he can come in. He can come in out of his leave, any of us can. Yeah. You're not excluded from the chamber because you take leave. It's pretty soft line. You know, leave is not well defined in the Act. How do people think about that? Last time it was 2 months. I think it should go to 3. There's a suggestion for 3. I kind of think it should be something more than the 2. Scott?
So where does that go?
I just wanted to just, sorry, back to the...
Okay.
So I just advertised in the messenger. It is expensive, so I just want to make sure that people understand, you know, about this. Are we going to put this motion in there? Is that the recommendation?
At this point, it'll go in and then get debated. So we're not debating now, but when it goes on the floor.
So, you know, just seek people's guidance so they understand how much that would sort of cost. It could be about $1,500, I would say.
That's not a big guy. It's thought about $650.
I put in about 4 lines, which is $90.
Need to talk to Curtis's mates.
That's the one we just had recently to invite enrolment.
My retraction in the by-election.
No, I'll just say the one I recently put in the last few weeks. I don't remember how big it was, but it was about inviting people to enrol to vote. It had a big red big counter button.
It was a big ad.
And it might be
2 columns by something.
Retraction.
Sorry, so 620 for that.
That's a pretty good size.
Retraction. Well, you're in classifieds, see, that's retraction rates.
And does that get us, does that entitle us to ask for it to be in a certain part of the paper other than the public?
I don't think I specified early general news, but I imagine the messenger would put it somewhere near an article if there was to be one.
Yeah, it's more money, to request is more money. Okay, so what we ask for is should be in general news rather than in the fact box.
They might even do a special edition.
Well, anyway, okay, so can we move on, because you can debate that in when we actually move this. I wanted to talk about this issue about taking leave, actually suggested 3 months. Does anyone else have a view? Firstly, is that something that we should invite Councillor Bruce to do? I think, for me, I would like to see it in there. It worked last time. It allowed him time to get away and think about things. It allowed us a bit of time to cool off, and it was, I think, a genuine penalty that he actually, I think it's one of the very few things that's actually worked, in my view.
So that could be from tomorrow?
I presume so. Yeah.
Or effective?
Can we request him to take place?
No, we can invite. Sorry, Scott.
Elected.
Sorry, sure, we asking a lot of questions tonight. It's most probably the most I've spoken.
Right.
So just with Ashley's 3 months, this most probably missed us, a question for Kerry. So what happens in A, nominations, and B, in caretaker mode? Effect on that, or?
It wouldn't have any effect on nominations because you could take holidays yourself and you could still drop in a nomination form, so I wouldn't see that as an issue.
Just to take that to an extreme, even if Councillor Bruce resigned tomorrow, he could still nominate. I don't think he's going to do it, but just to help you understand the context.
Don't have to be elected members.
And if he took a leave from tomorrow, and understand it's an invitation, it doesn't take effect until he applies for leave on the CEO. Okay? If he chose to do that tomorrow, that's the 23rd of July, so it's August, September, October. 23rd of October is when you come back on council, and it'll be the October meeting, which is the last meeting before the ballot papers go out the week after, so it's around that sort of time.
That'll take it to the 2020.
Oh, so it's during that voting period. Yeah. So you're aware of that. Did you see October meeting?
Well, if you're saying that it commences tomorrow, it would finish.
Oh, just after the October meeting. Okay. Oh, well, that's right. Yeah. So then, I don't see anyone arguing against leave, so you happy we close it up and put it in there? 3 months mark? Okay. All right. I think we'll call a short break. That's been pretty tough going. Let's resume at 10:05. I'll call an adjournment.
Oh, do you want us to vote to adjourn?
Sorry, it's the easiest way for me to do it is to suspend any procedures until 10:10, just to be sure we're all back in the room. All those who approve, against, just done, and see you at 5:10. Seriously? Okay.
Yeah. We wrote an article, David, you called me to step down as mayor.
Just spoke freely.
Everybody got it, I couldn't hear it.
Still on.
Okay, so work through from the top so you understand the changes, and then I'll ask if there's any questions, and then we'll move to move and second and debate. Okay, hopefully that'll be the quickest part of tonight. Item 1 is as per the report.
Excuse me, sir, we back in the meeting then.
Yes, so of course back into formal meeting procedures, and I'm just running through the motion. And I'll take questions after this.
After you finish the question, yes.
We divided the motion into two parts. Part 1 is the code of conduct issue and its penalties in the publication. Part 2 is about us having a look at our handling procedure. Separate business for us to do. The reason we've divided it is in item 7, we said that council publish part 1 of this resolution. Okay, so we don't publish part 2. Save some costs, and the public don't need to know all that other procedural stuff. Okay. So part 1 has been reconstructed. The first bit of it, that includes item 2.2 and 2.3, is exactly as per your papers.
Can I, though, I wouldn't mind making a change to part 1. Rather than it appear, anybody just reading very quickly is just going to see council whatever, and there is the element of council, I think, no, bloody council, blah, blah, blah. I'd rather it start, the local governance panel finds council approves has breached part 2, and council notes that having investigated, so that you get the governance panel right up front as the headlines. So it's not just coming from council, and so often people do, council notes, all right, skip to the next one.
Yeah, I can understand your point. Sorry, I'm not meaning to cut you off, just keep trying to...
Keep chewing.
Yeah. Yeah, Carol, can you put it up and see how that looks? Alright, go ahead. Alright. We should say council notes the finding of the local governance panel. Should we say that? And that's the finding and seeks the following or something, so then you've got to introduce it.
Do you want this one to be more?
No, I think it's all part of the introduction. The governance panel is not imposing 1.1 to 1.7. We are. So. That's the finding of the governance panel. And it just needs an ant, doesn't it? The end of the word panel. For that, yeah. Sorry, Councillor Dixon, if you could just have a look at that.
This is also the
Yeah, that's great.
someone reading it, this looks.
I'll show you clauses of what? I've put it there.
Just be with us.
Thank you.
Really risking that we have 10 people to find this. Just take the time while the minute secretary gets it on the screen.
Yep.
Council notes the finding of the local governance panel, and then we go to item 1.1, which is exactly as per what's in your papers, except that we have taken the complainant's name out and inserted the word complainant, because this will be published. Okay, so we're just a little bit more sensitive there. Other than that, it's exactly the same. Item 1.2 is a new item, as is item 1.3, and needs to be read together. Item 1.2, Council expresses its condemnation of the inappropriate and ongoing conduct of Councillor Priest in contravention of the Code of Conduct, so it's specifically about that behaviour. And item 1.3 is the censure motion, so specifically, as Christina said, going to do it now. Council censures Councillor Priest for repeated breaches of the Code of Conduct for council members. Sorry, Kate? Yes?
Pass the note.
Not repeated breaches of this code.
Not repeated breaches of this code. Okay. So we're going to have to simplify item 1.3.
Of the previous.
Amended code.
Previous.
Whatever the new code name is. Okay. So council censures councillor Priest for breaching the code of conduct. You may do it at once.
Would we have a problem with putting the female complainant?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it.
Don't need it. Don't go down there. There's been, look, all the details have been published in the Messenger Press. It's not hard for people to put two and two together, but I don't think we need to participate in that.
Right.
I'm saying what the Messenger Press is doing is not appropriate, but you can't, as you're saying, 1.3 can't be repeated breaches because he has not.
Well, it's not breaches of
Yeah, so just change that to.
Isn't it a history of
Repeated breaches of the previous code, previous and current, yeah. Okay. Item 1.4 is as discussed before, but now pulled separately. So it's just by itself, quite simply, as a council request for payment. Item 1.5 is the referring matter and previous findings and penalties related to breaches and other related matters to the Office of Public Integrity for their considerations. So we let them know not just what's breached, but also what penalties we've applied, so they can look at whether that was appropriate or not.
David, can we ask questions as we go along? Do you want to go through that?
Happy to have brief ones, yeah.
Brief question, what's other related matters? Is that just a bit of a catch-all?
Yes, essentially. Yeah, complaints.
complaints?
And any matter regarding Mr. Collins is not a breach of the code of conduct. So I'm just trying to avoid the OPI coming back and asking a question, can we have other stuff related to this stuff, and the CEO's got to come back to council for it. So, yes. 1.6. Sorry, just to stress, if it's not related, then I don't get it. 1.6, council please be invited to take leave for a period of 3 months from the date of this meeting.
The date of this meeting won't mean anything to anyone.
Put the date in.
Okay. Good. So I recommend we put a date in so that we're very clear to council please what we're asking them to do. You have to decide, I'll take it to the end of November. And 1.7, council published part 1 as I've explained before, just 1.7.
David, sorry, it's not on 1.7. When we publish this, are we publishing 1.7? Because if we publish 1.7, which is 3 lines, we might as well publish number 2, which is only 2 lines. And I don't think it would be bad for the public to actually understand that we are reviewing our procedures.
So, yeah, I mean, I took that part 2 out to try and save some money.
All we've done is add it in the next half a line. So,
I'm easy. I think that in a way it makes it look as if our procedures are at fault.
Yeah.
I'm happy to look at our procedures, but I wouldn't want anyone reading it to interpret, well, you even said yourself that your procedures aren't right. I don't want that gate to be open at all. So I think it's, minutes they're published on our website. So
I certainly think 1.6 should say council please be allowed to take leave from council duties. You know, not go on holiday to Honolulu necessarily, which that's not indicating. That's the key fact, is away from council.
Okay. Yes, okay, yeah, take leave from council duties. What's it defined as in the Act, Karen?
I think that could be ultra virus if we ask him.
There goes another line.
We need from council duties if you've got leave of absence. See if you have a leave of absence. It looks like.
Oh yeah, I'm not fussed.
Yeah, that looks like a bit defined kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, so are there any further questions about that? I think that captures where everyone was at.
sorry, David, just in terms of the apology, we talked about bringing that date forward. Obviously, we can't put council meeting, but can we for the complainants? Because the 31st of August seems like a long way away.
Yeah, that's right.
Could we not change it to 31st of July, for instance?
sorry, let's just have a look at that. Personal information and in writing to the complainant before the 31st of August.
Two separate.
Yes, they are. I guess if he's already written to her and apologised, what's he going to do on the 26th? Read it again and maybe say something more on top of that, I guess he could do. Yeah, okay. So any reason, managers, CEO, or we would say 30 days?
I don't. Sorry, so I don't think that should be. I don't think that'll be considered fair.
Fair time. So we could make it before the 31st of August.
Same date.
The same date, or you're suggesting a?
I think it's a long way away. Well, the apology should allegedly there's already one being written.
So it said 15th of August.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's enough time procedurally to say that's reasonably fair. That's what you're worried about, manager? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so 15th August. That's a Friday. I don't know well.
And 1.7, second line, to members of the public to contact the Chief Executive Officer if they, it really should be should they want, not if they want.
More than I hope Caroline can go out and get enough sponsorship.
I don't think you need that in the resolution. That's self-evident. Okay, so if there's no more questions, I now seek a mover. Let's get it on the floor. Let's deal with it.
Well, I'm happy to move it, except I haven't finished reading it, so I'm going to keep reading it while other people are moving it. Monica's moving it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, Michael, moving it. Do you just speak any further to it?
I think I have said an awful lot over tonight and the time before. Again, I'll just reiterate, I don't think Councillor Priest is fit for office. There's nothing we can do about that, but it goes a long way to it, and I appreciate support for the Chancellor in this matter.
Thank you. The seconder, that's not you, Councillor Dixon, you, Councillor Group. Seconder, okay. Just speak to it.
Look, I won't labour the point because we have all said a lot. I just want to go back to one thing that we talked about last time we met on this particular matter, which was Councillor Priest's inability to take responsibility for the behaviour. And I just think we haven't really talked about that tonight. I think Councillor Lee mentioned it earlier, but I just think even tonight or in the intervening periods, we've not had Councillor Priest come back and say, hey, yep, I did the wrong thing. And that would go a long way for me tonight as well in terms of making a decision. That's not happening. And again, just repeating what I said earlier, I'm really disappointed that we've now spent probably close to 2 hours debating this tonight. We've spent hours and hours on previous ones doing it. And it's time I don't think we'll spend in the sense that we could be spending it on other things for the city or prospects. But we're spending it on dealing with behaviour of somebody who's a colleague and a peer of ours. And we get judged on that behaviour as well. And that concerns me. Irrespective of election or non-election coming up, that's not the point. The point is that we get tarnished with the same brush as Councillor Priest often when this happens. And I haven't had hundreds and hundreds of people talk to me about Councillor Priest's behaviour, but I have had more talk to me about this and other issues of late. And I think that's a really good indication of the sense that people have in this community. I think what we've provided is fair. I suspect Councillor Priest won't be happy with all of the recommendations. But I think the debate tonight, the discussion, we've come up with what is a fair and reasonable consequence to his behaviour. I hope Councillor Priest understands that when he reads it. And I really hope that Councillor Priest looks to change his behaviour in whatever he chooses to do in the coming months. But I think it's not an unreasonable set of expectations.
Any further debate? Does there need to be, obviously, that someone wants to?
Yes. Can I, in 1.1, we've got City of Prospect Fair. The fair has a name, which I really think should be part of this. It's the City of Prospect St Helens Park Fair, is it not?
Not too early, so. For the City of Prospect Fair?
Is it just the City of Prospect Fair?
Fair. Prospect Fair, I don't even...
Oh, sorry, yeah, the Prospect Fair.
So Prospect Fair, you wanted to say that in the resolution. Published in a newspaper.
Yeah. The Minister failed.
Prospect Fair. Just say 2 words. Yeah, safe to.
And by the way, sorry to interject, it's not an invitation for you to come up with a really good name for it.
No, but it is the Prospect Fair. That's the point I'm making. Yes, it's the way back because he dropped City off. It's the Prospect Fair. City Prospect is pretty bleeding obvious because it's coming from us.
Well, it's not bleeding.
Well, that's true too.
There's 2 less words that we pay for.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you're going to get some.
Prospect Fair is,
Yeah, that's fine.
Do I have, does the mover happy to delete? So the second happy to delete 2 words. So you leave the need to delete the 2 words. So those in favour or against the deleted, carry on, Councillor Dixon, if you need to.
Well, what I particularly want to do is thank the elected members of the City of Prospect for, I wasn't utterly convinced at the beginning that it would go quite the way it has, and I deeply respect and thank the elected members here for realising that there comes a time when you have to put your foot in the sand and say no more and be prepared to criticise. Maybe I should have expected more. I just wasn't 100% sure. I'm just really pleased the way the whole thing has gone. And I think it speaks well of everybody.
Any further debate? Councillor Roberts.
Just wanted to say that a bit like Mark and Councillor Groom said that, and I spoke to a few other councillors here just while we were adjourned, that it really does, and I've said it before, put us in an uncomfortable position. And it's one of those things where I think Councillor Dixon was saying that, maybe it not would have got support because of friendships, because of, you do work with these people every Tuesday. But if we're feeling uncomfortable here, I think that the way that people are feeling in our ratepayers, I think that's what we need to look at, and I think that's why everyone was in agreement. This is why we had to go so far. And after David provided his spreadsheet, it was quite clear that previous events, maybe we weren't hard enough, and maybe we did take softly approach in good faith. And I think it's now that it's time that we've said no, enough's enough. Friendships aside, we've got to protect our ratepayers who vote for us to put us here and make the decisions of council. And I think, David, when you read out your notes, I don't know if it's recording or not, but $60,000 is a lot of money. And we struggle to, as Mark said, to get things up in budget. And it's been the toughest thing to go through to try and get something up that our community needs because of the actions of one person. So it's disappointing, and it's hard to come here and vote against someone that you do speak to outside of council, someone that when I first walked into the council chamber, he was the first person that said hello to me and welcomed me in. So you still have that emotional attachment, but unfortunately we've got to do what's best for our ratepayers. If our ratepayers feel feeling threatened by an elected member, we need to put it to the head. So it's very disappointing, but I think we've come up with this.
To the debate. CEO wishes to say something. I need to seek leave of the meeting to permit the CEO to speak. No one's asking questions. I just seek approval for that, the CEO to speak. Against? Just granted, CEO.
Yeah, very well. I just feel the need to say a couple of words on behalf of the staff. Staff have been at a level of unrest and concern for the 6 years that I've worked at City of Prospect, and it's been an ongoing exercise in frustration that I personally cannot arrange any opportunity to improve the situation. I've tried I've tried to influence positively the activities of Councillor Priest.
More than anybody, CEO. More than anybody.
It has been an amazingly absorbing exercise. A lot of council resources that I would hate to cost, and I can't describe to you properly how much resource has been put into code of conduct minutes on a daily basis. And we have tried to maintain our professionalism throughout the whole process. And I just hope, and I trust that you believe that staff have been impartial at all times and have really tried to facilitate a positive outcome. I just think on behalf of the staff, I'd need to express satisfaction that councillors as a group have taken this matter very seriously, as has the Mayor, and are doing all that they can to address what is considered to be inappropriate behaviour by staff as well. That's how they consider it to be. And I think it's a very strong message that I can take back to my staff, and I will do so, that council takes it seriously and is doing the best it can within the limitations it has. So I just wanted to say that clearly tonight.
Well, thank you on behalf of the members. Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, nobody has tried hard than the CEO. He is the buffer person that, and two, the CEO has enormous credit. Councillor Priest has great confidence in the CEO's ability to be impartial and objective, and regularly seeks his counsel on these and other matters. And that's a great sign that the CEO is doing his best in one of the very, very difficult circumstances. And again, I think the CEO is alluding to many circumstances that even I'm not aware of. I thank you for that, and encourage you to keep being the great bloke that you are with everything about council, including the difficult stuff. That's me speaking from the chair. Anyone else wish to talk to this matter? If not, I'll Councillor Lee, you wish to sum up.
Very briefly, just two things. One, we've been witness to the bullying of staff by the councillor. And I don't know if I can say on behalf of council members, but I do feel quite ashamed that I didn't step up and say, that's enough, or someone's stopping or something like that. So you guys, at least we get to say things back. You guys don't get to do that. And I just like to apologise for not making life easier for you and stepping in sometimes. We, at my website, we deal with bullying through bystander effect. We talk to the kids a lot about bystander effect. It's quite powerful, and there are two ways you can be a bystander. One is to sit back and condone the behaviour and participate, which is what everyone does. The other is to step up and say enough. And you've got to be the first person that steps up to say enough, and then everybody falls in behind you. So I think for Councillor Priest, you can't just say enough, because that means nothing to him. But I think the steps that we've taken tonight go a long way towards getting him to understand how serious this is. And we're not going to stand back and be bystanders in a negative way. We're going to be bystanders and step up and make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Thank you. That concludes debate. All those in favour? Against? It is carried unanimously. It should be recorded as such.
And that will be recorded.
What's up there?
Before you ask the question, Councillor, that's how efficient you are. Yeah, that's a city.
It's another $5 in the ad.
Through back to the agenda, to the council diary, item 21. North Adelaide versus Glenelg at Prospect Oval, Saturday the 26th. I invited my friend, the Glenelg fan, and said, come and get walloped, and he sent back a text reminding me that it wasn't the Glenelg that walloped the Roosters by 10 goals the last time they were there, so hopefully I don't have to eat my words again. Alan's going to help me in this.
We'll be right this time. I'm not going because it's worth $28. I'll take tickets back.
North Adelaide versus Norwood, done on the 3rd of August. And then the next item in the diary is the Wait for Red, otherwise Sink or Fly, the Prospect Digital Artist in Residence on the 10th of August. And I really encourage you to go to that. I know some of you don't attend the gallery on a regular basis. This digital artist has arisen because of our work with getting fibre in the premises and getting the funding for the hub. But I think it's a first that we have an artist in residence who doesn't actually live here. The person who won that expression of interest process lives in New York, and this is the exhibition that our residents, our artists in residence have to produce every August. That's part of the contract we have with them. You don't just deal with us, you've got to produce something. So the whole exhibition has been put on as a result. So it should be really interesting to see how all that statistics works. A couple more footy games have now been scheduled. Sorry, we're going to hit Club 508-2. These are not on the agenda. Club 508-2 on the 1st of August in Town Hall. The Mayor's thank you dinner for this year and the term effectively is on the 15th of August, Friday night, and bookings are really filling up fast. So if you haven't got your replies in, you might be outside with a Balfour's pie or something. Saturday the 16th of August, North versus Eagles up at Prospect Oval. This has only just come through in the last few days. And Saturday the 23rd of August, North Centrals up at Prospect Oval. So there's a few, nice to be diary. General business, is there any general business? Councillor Harris.
I won't go as your partner at the dinner. Just once, in the general business, I'd like to recall for a report on the road slowing devices at I think approximately 12 and 14 California Street. If you remember, we had the bloke there and difference of numbers, and we've had a blowout there, and it's pretty terrible. So I'd like to get a report of what's happened there and what stage it's at, and are we going to do something if Greg's meeting someone, road count.
So sorry, Councillor, so report on the traffic calming devices?
Yeah, and it's the one, I think it's 12, number 12 to 14, it's behind my house.
So is that one device?
Yes, because the other one's okay.
Calming device at 12 to 14 California Street.
What about?
And yeah, what do you want the report to address?
Well, the particular, and I assume we all remember the emails we got with the question of the people living there about the road count and the fact that it's, in their words, useless. I think it's second to useless because there's no bump there.
There's no bump, okay.
So, and I know Greg's been there and I know he's had meetings, so I'll just try and see where we're going with it.
Except the traffic calming device, 12 to 14 California Street, in particular, the height of the device.
I'd be tempted to put ineffectiveness, not success. It really highlights what to look for.
Can we put success or otherwise? Or effectiveness? Okay, right, apologies.
My other one, the CEO's got that in hand.
In particular, the height of the device.
That one. The other one, I just very briefly on that.
It's not height, it's profile. That's what makes it. It's the profile that makes the difference. That's the whole point.
So, can I respectfully say that this is exactly what Councillor Harris gave me by my mouth, and it's his motion.
It is.
Thank you. The effectiveness of the device.
Of the traffic count.
Okay, beautiful. So anything further on that item?
No, that's...
Beautiful. So you're moving it, do I have a seconder? Councillor Roberts is seconding it. Any further debate? All those in favour? Against is carried. Thank you.
And the other one is very quick because it's late at night and I didn't have a chance to speak to one of the people over there before I come. On Sunday, some big dog attacked a little dog and there was a bit of a problem in Stephen Street, and 3 of the different houses, the residents, wanted me to express the fact of how long it took Peter to get there, almost instantly, and the way he treated and spoke to everyone and the way he handled the situation, and they all call him the dog catcher, but the way he handled the situation was very good, and all bar, they can't find the big dog, but they were very satisfied.
Okay, so you wish to move a motion thanking him, or just...
Yes, yeah, I'm more than happy to do that because quite often people hate them.
Your hands, but...
Okay, I'd like to move a motion that, as comes from the residents, thanking Peter the dog catcher. You can use his proper name. Oh yeah, community safety officer.
Prompt attendance
and Stephen Street, and how he handled the situation.
You might like to remove...
To a matter of
yeah. I think it is.
Dog matter.
Professional matter in which he handled
Stephen's son. The dad's in the other street, the son's in this one.
You want a motion to it?
Could I respectfully say you might wish to remove there, because grammatically it's incorrect.
So, Councillor...
Council expresses thanks. It's either it's thanks or just thanks.
Yeah, it's instead of there.
Right. So you can tear it up.
Don't want to be seen as form votes.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor. Do you have a seconder?
I'll second that one.
Roberts. Any further debate? All those in favour? Against is carried. Thank you, Councillor Harris. Any further general business? No. Further debate, general business of an urgent nature. Do we have any general business of an urgent nature?
I just have a question because whether I move motion or not about the nomination of the Joy Belusha, it depends on the answer, because we have information here that's been received from Andrew Haste at the LGA, and I just find it a dilemma because saying that he's going to prepare a report for the August LGA Management Group meeting, which won't meet until, and go to the board till September. So does that mean then that the awards nominations are still have to be in by the 1st of August, and his motion doesn't go through, that then my nomination won't be accepted? My dilemma.
Technically, I'll try and answer from the Chair. Technically, you're correct. However, I can assure you that a couple of other board members have mentioned this to me, and the timing is a direct clash with the election cycle, and the inappropriateness of that has been raised, and they've asked the CEO, as have I, for a remedy. The only sensible remedy is to say, take it out of the election cycle, and instead of making a determination for award at the October AGM, which I think is where it was headed, is simply to make the award at the April general meeting. It's a very simple remedy, and I can give you every assurance as a President that I believe in that will happen, and I will seek that to happen. Technically, you are correct, though. Back to the 1st of August. That's where it sits. And he can't advise any differently.
No, I know. So that's my dilemma. So, I mean, do I put it up knowing that all this might happen, and therefore for a couple of members here that's hunky-dory, or do we just wait till after the elections, and then obviously if I'm, still successful, I can put one in. But it's all up in the air because I don't know that that's going to happen, even though you might, be in all honesty saying that that's what you believe.
Yeah, but it's all just what I believe. You've got right.
Yes, yes. So, therefore, I'm mindful that, to err on the side of safety, I might move the urgent motion. And then, obviously, if the LGA then make another decision that, lapses, and therefore, so I think that, and hopefully elected members will be supportive of my dilemma. So, yes, all right then. So I think I will then move in general business matter, urgent matters, given the possible timing and ramifications of what I've just explained. So, do I put my motion then now?
This reads, so quick question, Councillor, just reading the general business item, urgent matters, it does say that understanding it in your belief it can't wait till the next council or committee meeting, and I have to recognise that at this stage the dates remain. That leave of the meeting is required for each item that we raise under this urgent matters section. So what you're requesting is that the meeting grant leave for you to move a nomination. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. What I'll do is I'll seek leave of the meeting to accept a motion for this matter as an urgent matter. So all those in favour of accepting the motion at this point in time?
Yes, I think so. It's a bit confusing, but
we're seeking leave of the meeting to introduce the matter.
Seeking leave of the meeting to introduce the matter. 2, 3, 4. Against? 1. So leave is granted. You can now introduce the matter.
Right. My motion is that this council nominates Councillor Christina Barnett for the Joy Belusha Award, and Part 2, Councillor Barnett's nomination form be forwarded to the LGA by the 1st of August 2014.
Yeah, and you're moving that way?
Yes. and letters, and the letters of support before, I don't know which piece of paper I've got now, that you would have all received.
And yeah, everyone's got a little packet of information, and speaking to your motion, Councillor.
Yes, so just mindful of the horrible dilemma that I now find myself in. And I guess, points that I made before were that there was some concern expressed, about in the forthcoming caretaker elections, and there would be somehow some, this somehow build up the, of me as a possible candidate. So I have pointed out that at this stage in time, there are no nominations for candidacy. I'm not a nomination, and to all intents and purposes, we've got no idea about the date. So obviously, in putting this forward, then it's up to the LGA to decide. And we're not mind readers or have a crystal ball, but to all intents and purposes, as the Mayor, the President of the LGA, has intimated that this will not happen. It will happen for the women who are working for local government, but the one for women who are elected to local government will be in abeyance until after the election. So I just say, if you think that I'm a worthy candidate for this, and I hope you do, that you'll support this, given the sort of mystery or whatever about the timing, and appreciate my dilemma. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Roberts, wish to speak to it?
Obviously there's been some debate about timing and whatnot, but that's out of our hands at the moment as it stands. It's called for nominations through the LGA circulars, and I think that we've got a member here on our council who's very worthy of this award. So I think we should be nominating Councillor Barnett, and I'm more than happy to second it and support the motion as it stands.
Thank you. Any further debate? Yes, that's it. Councillor Dixon.
I think it's absolutely incredulous that the Local Government Association, as we move into an election period, that they put this forward. It is absolutely, utterly, mindlessly stupid of them to not recognise what they are doing and forcing a council to do. Not just this council. In this particular case, we are, as a council, being asked to nominate a member for a very public award from somebody who has long been a representative of local government, whose name flies way ahead of most. It will therefore get a lot of public presentation in the press. This is something that nobody else in the community that may stand against Christina can receive. And I just think it is appalling for us as a council to give one of our own a leg up in this election. Nobody else will get that. And we as a council, I think it's shameful that we put ourselves in a position. I think it's shameful the LGA put us in a position to give somebody a leg up in these circumstances, which is denied to anybody else in the community. We are so careful with the magazine that's coming out. No involvement from elected members. Why? For that very same reason. And yet this high-profile award, vastly more high-profile than our magazine, we seem to think that's okay. This has got nothing to do with the nomination per se. Christina's put a lot of time, 21 years. God forbid I ever put 21 years into local government. I should be in my grave probably by the time that comes up.
Or us.
It's got nothing to do with the nomination per se. I think the process is appalling and disgraceful, both by the Local Government Association, and in fact the CEO of the Local Government Association rang me today, was very apologetic, said they just hadn't dawned on them It was this close to an election, and should see, I suppose, the posters will come out soon to remind them. But it's just quite extraordinary that they put us in this position, and they put Christina in the same position too. However, I would have thought, and I think in the same situation, I can only say think, with what's happened, with the email information that's come forward, with the comment from the chair, the president, I would have said, yes, it's obvious that's the way it's going to go. There has to be a board meeting, yes. But that's all. I think everybody has made it clear they made a mistake. They're going to correct it. There's no way for myself I will be party to, and I will call for a division on this, depending on the way the vote goes. I will not be party to this council putting forward one of our own, and that's what we're doing. And how it will be seen publicly, that a council holds up one of its own above anybody else in the community that may want to stand in that ward for such a high-profile award. I just think it's disgraceful that it's occurred, and I really don't think this council should be party to it. If anything, they should send a condemnation to the Local Government Association for not considering the timing. But I'm not going to be party to their bad timing, and I will vote against this motion. I am more than happy for Christina to put this up at a time that doesn't interfere with the election process.
Okay. Any further debate? Councillor Woods?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I agree with pretty much everything else you said tonight, except for one major point, and that is I don't think Councillor Barnett should be disadvantaged by the LGA's inability to understand that in a couple of weeks' time they're going to be putting out posters to announce an election. I find it astounding that they would do that. I think the point's been made that Councillor Barnett hasn't yet nominated for council for another term. He's quite likely to, I would presume, but hasn't as yet. And I think by not passing the motion tonight, we actually stop her having the opportunity of nominating while she is current councillor. And so I think the risk would be that if we didn't go ahead with this, and yet for some reason the process did go ahead, and it was resolved after the council elections, I presume that Councillor Barnett would no longer be eligible for the award. I think it's a deserving nomination. I totally agree, Councillor Dixon, with what you've been saying in terms of the process. I think it is outrageous. I can only presume that the process will right itself, in which case the nomination will be put on hold and will be dealt with after the election, which is proper. The other point, and Councillor Dixon mentioned that this is a very prestigious award. I think it is if you're in global government circles. I think most people in the public wouldn't actually understand what the award is. I don't think they would necessarily vote for someone because they were nominated for an award as opposed to someone who wasn't. I would hope that our voting public would be making decisions on who their representatives should be based on what they can bring to the council rather than awards they've been nominated for. So on that basis, I have no problems with it. But just to, I guess, reflect those points that Councillor Dixon made, I think it is an appalling process, and I'm sure it's one that the President will take up.
Already have. Councillor.
I think I just need to justify myself to Councillor Barnett in that I agree totally with Councillor Dixon. And it's not just the winning of the award, it's the nomination of the award that puts Councillors at Barnett at advantage to other councillors. So it's not personal, but it is principle. So I apologise to Councillor Barnett on the decision, but it's a stand that I need to take.
Councillor Harris?
Sort of wish I had spoken before, Councillor Dixon, because I nearly was going to agree with him all the way through. I do agree with many parts, so I'll have to pick those parts. That it's a wrong time to do these sort of things, and the problem with coming up with what the chair has said, or himself has said, that it'll come out some way that possibly it might be April that it comes up. Well, we could have a group of people here on a new council that don't have that right then to nominate that person because they're already nominated. So I do see the things that it's a disadvantage because it does help when you have these things under your belt. And I might add, that's why I didn't vote for you the time that the CEO nominated you. So I don't think it's the right thing to do just before an election. And that's my reason. I'm not going to apologise to Chris for that because I think Chris has done my 18 years. absolutely fantastic job for this council and other places, and that's good. And I am nominating again, and if I happen to win and I happen to be here in April, I'll have no problem whatsoever in either moving or seconding it. But right now, I don't agree with it.
Okay, I should speak briefly from the chair because there's now an even number of votes on the floor, so my casting vote might be important. And I tend to agree with what Councillor Harris has just said, and I have a heightened awareness of perceptions of conflicts of interest given the recent election cycle, and thank you to some of you for pointing those things out to me, and particularly Councillor Barnett. So it's somewhat ironic that I now have to sit in judgment of potential conflict of interest in an election cycle related to yourself, and it kind of doesn't make me terribly happy that I decide that in this instance there will be. This does give rise to an opportunity that places you ahead of other candidates in a way which I think is quite. The time is terrible, and I'll do my best. I can assure you, as President, to argue the case, to say this is completely unfair on everybody. You don't need animosity from anybody about whether you're a candidate for this award or not. You should be the candidate for this award, in my view. But the timing right now is completely inappropriate. I'll do my best to convince the rest of the management team that is the case, and the board in due course, that this should be taken out of the election cycle, not just once, but permanently, so that it is awarded in April, well away from the sort of inference that we have before us. And so I just don't see that I can support it at this time. Very happy to support it for the process that leads to an April decision. And just saying so, I'm just also, I haven't had advice on this, but I can't make that little speech without implying that I believe that there's a conflict of interest yourself, Councillor Barnett, and SI, that you have moved and are now sitting in on and presumably feel the need to vote on. I'm just not sure. My perception is that you would get a benefit in a voting sense out of this, and I'm cognizant of a recent finding about an election where the only benefit was votes, not money, and the Ombudsman said that in his view there was a benefit, therefore a conflict. So I can only provide that to you, and I deeply appreciate the dilemma that you're in, and that no one else has put this nomination up, that you have put it up due to the timing. Otherwise, you could have got one of the other supportive councillors to do it. So it's not an easy decision, but I just want to highlight that to you, that potentially because you would receive some benefit, even though it might just be council's endorsement of you as a worthy candidate. It might never amount to anything more than that. That can still be perceived as a benefit, and I think that's the point that's been made by a couple of councillors here tonight. Just our endorsement is seen as some sort of benefit. So I'm really uncomfortable about this, but if it is a tied vote, I will find that I need to vote against it at this point. Very, very happy to support it out of an election cycle.
Yes, I will declare an interest in the matter, and I'll remove myself.
Okay, all right, thank you. So can we have that recorded, please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just been advised. I've just been advised throughout this, so I'm declaring it.
Yeah. Councillor, I'm just conscious that if it gets voted down, it looks like Council's not endorsing your nomination. I'm really concerned about that. Yes.
Try it.
Yeah. So I think that was the same conversation that we're having up here. I'm equally uncomfortable that Council would say that you're not worthy as an attorney. I think that's inappropriate.
Well, it's not to, I'm allowed to withdraw my motion.
As the mover, you can seek leave of the meeting to withdraw.
I'll seek leave of the meeting to withdraw my motion, given all the conversation that we've had.
And I'll give you my assurance. I'll give you my assurance that I will pursue this matter through the hierarchy of the LGA, so that this is write it.
So she's withdrawing because you're offering her a benefit.
Can I make something? Can I make something?
April.
Asking Lee to withdraw the motion, given the circumstances surrounding the time.
Given the suggestion from the LGA that the nominations period will be held open until beyond the election cycle. Yeah, I think that's quite appropriate. I'll now put that to the meeting. So, the member is seeking leave to withdraw. All those in favour of the withdrawal of the motion? So all those in favour of withdrawal of the motion, all those against withdrawal? Thank you. The motion starts.
I'm assumed, and I voted for it. God knows.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Extraordinary meeting. Confidential items nil closed. Sorry, any other motions of an urgent nature with us? No, good. Confidential items nil, meeting is closed. Thank you.